Hey there, comic book people, comic book friends, comic book brothers, comic book sisters, whoever else. What am I saying? Anyway, we're back at the Comic Book Roundtable after a little bit of a holiday break. How's everybody? How's my esteemed panel? These are the brave souls that chose to show up today because this is going to be the hard one. This is where we're just going to talk about loving comics or not loving comics. And there's CDC. He's already ditched us. So there you go. Basically, this is just going to be a evening of us BSing comics. What happened this last year that we enjoyed or maybe didn't enjoy or whatever, and kind of whatever we think might be coming in the future. Let me turn off my heater down here because it's squeaking. Well, at least I can hear it. I don't know if anybody else can, but apologize for that. Let's briefly talk about this week's books. I actually got mine, which I'm shocked. With the holiday on Friday, I would assume I wasn't going to get my comic books, but I did get them Saturday. And this was the light week, right? This is the fifth week of the month plus the holidays. Yeah. Pretty much, the main two publishers didn't put out a whole lot, did they? I got one DC book. I didn't get any Marvel this week. Last week I had a ton of Marvel, and of course we didn't talk books at all. So I'll continue to look like the Marvel hater by not having any Marvel books. But all I got was Black Canary. Anybody read Black Canary?
I haven't read it yet, but I have it.
Okay. I continue to like the way it looks, but the story itself that I haven't had a problem with up until this point is starting to get a little on the shaky side too. So curious to see how long they're going to be able to do that story.
Are you worried of where it's going?
Well, I almost feel like it's going to be pointless by the time we're done. Which I guess I don't know that it has to have a point. Sometimes it's just fun for the romp, and that's mostly why I've been enjoying the book. Just the visuals of it. I like the way it's drawn. I like the way it's colored with Wu on the art most of the time, and Blue Ridge doing colors. I've enjoyed that. I kind of like the rock and roll aspect of it. I could read a rock and roll comic book. I think if somebody gave me a more story there to go along with it. It's the whole mystery is Waller's people coming to get the kid kind of thing. That's gotten odd, but hasn't. I was hoping it would come together better than what it is. This issue kind of makes a lot of it come full circle. They have a battle of the bands, and after the battle of the bands, a lot of it comes full circle, and I'm not sure I like that circle.
Okay.
So I don't know. And I don't know what's next, because I don't pay attention to the solicitations for it. I just, if it's coming out, I'm getting it at this point. So I'm curious to see what's going to be next. I'm not necessarily curious in a boy, I'm excited what's coming next, but more just okay, now what is more of what it left me with. So
it's not blowing your mind, but you're not hating it either.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not a comic I'd recommend to anybody else, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. I mean, I like seeing her on stage, screaming and flying into the audience and beating people up with microphones and stuff. To me, that's all fun. And I can read it as that being fun. So
I just think one day, and I think I said it on this show, that one day they're going to go back to the original her being with Green Arrow and all that, and I'm going to get to look back on this run and be like, this was so different and so unique for her. It was one of the few times the character kind of deviated from the regular norm, and I'll enjoy it for that. And I think that still stands for me. I think that's going to be what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's definitely a true point. I mean, it's not like Black Canary hasn't had her own miniseries and that sort of stuff, or her own stories in the back of Detective for a very long time, that sort of thing, or in the back of what's Supergirl's? It's Adventures Comics. Is that what it is? Because Superman's Action Comics, the old Supergirl comic was Adventure. So there were lots of backup stories in there, but she's always that kind of detective-y kind of. I mean, she's plays the same role. She really is playing a different role.
Yeah.
In comparison to what else she's done. So yeah, it's very true.
Was this part of the DCU books?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that it had enough of a different voice that's what caught you?
I'm a Black Canary fan.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, I'm going to pick it up to start out with, I'm going to pick it up regardless because it's Black Canary, and I like the character. They've not damaged her in a way going into the New 52 that's just kind of totally. I mean, she's a little less wise, but they haven't damaged her so much like they have some other characters. For me not to continue to pick up stuff of hers when it comes out that she's doing something. And I don't think I was picking it up because she was going to be that much newer or different. That is, I mean, I'm picking it up because it's Black Canary. I like rock and roll. I like music. So that just kind of starts putting a lot of stuff together that I enjoy. So I was on board for those aspects. It wasn't like I heard about it and went, oh my gosh, this is going to be some cool new fresh take. Let's go read it. I mean, there was a certain amount of apprehension because, of course, it was spinned out of the Batgirl, the new Batgirl, and at the time it was spinning out, I was still kind of going, well, on the whole, I was still reeling from the Barbara Gordon change, so that would almost made me shaky to get it.
Yeah, I started picking it up because I was reading Spider-Gwen at the time, and they seemed kind of similar, and I like Black Canary's character too. And I've always thought she was a lot cooler than some of the more bat-centric female characters, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, this is going to be similar. Let me see. I almost bought it as a comparator to Spider-Gwen to be like, is this really as bad as I think it is? And it turned out, yeah, this is how you do it right, what they were trying to do. It does, I mean, you do have apprehensions, but it's actually going somewhere where I felt Spider-Gwen was more just riding the not nostalgia, what's the word I'm looking for? Not variety, but like the idea of like, this is different, this is unique, and no plot, no nothing to it. Where this kind of was like, we're having fun, this is a band going out, we're having adventures and all that. It had something to it that Spider-Man didn't. So I've been enjoying it, and I think one day I'll look back on it and be like, that was so different, and I'll appreciate it even more looking back on it.
Well, cool. Okay, so what's going on in Batman and Robin Eternal? I've missed hearing about it for 2 weeks. I mean, I've seen the picture of is that the latest issue?
That's the cover.
The cover with, that's Cassandra Cain, right?
She does do it in the comic, too. But,
yeah? Whose blood?
A bunch of children. It's pretty. These past two issues.
So she bites the head off of babies and then starts painting her face.
No, she's in a pit full of dead children.
Ooh. Wow.
No, these past two issues, they have not held back at all. It's been far more enjoyable than any other Bat book for me right now. I mean, it's just because at first I was thinking this mother character is supposed to be the main villain. They're making the other. I guess, have you given away who the guy is yet, Luke?
Not yet. No. Actually, yeah, I did. Yeah, a couple weeks ago. You talking about mother or orphan?
No. Her dad.
Yeah, orphan. Yeah, I mentioned a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Okay, well, they were kind of making him seem more devious and more of the bad guy, and I was thinking, you gotta paint. If she's the heavy in this, if she's the big heavy, we need her to do some horrendous things. And these past two issues, the things that she's been behind and kind of allowed to happen, you're like, she's terrible. She runs this orphanage and kind of lets Orphan do these horrific things, not only to Cassandra, but to other kids too. And when the experiment fails, he just builds a pit and kills all the children and leaves them in it, and she finds it, and she smears their blood on her face.
Wow.
and goes to war.
Yeah, we kind of I know we briefly chatted about this. It's a good thing about what they're doing with her is like she's like you hate to say it, a realistic villain. There's no superpower. It's just evil, just a bad person that. I mean, you hear about it on the news. I mean, all the time with human trafficking and stuff like that.
It's stuff like that. Like, you're getting her intentions slowly, and the more you're getting that, the more you're... Because there's still a mystery of why Bruce Batman was ever involved with her in the past. We still haven't completely gotten that yet, but you're kind of wondering, what the hell were you doing even talking to this woman? Why didn't you take her in? Because the more you're learning about her, the more you're just, this is the worst person in the world. A villain like this could have done better in the main Batman book, by the way, I'm just saying. One where you're just like, holy shit, I want this person to be taken down. She has motives. She seems to think what she's doing is the right thing, so you can kind of identify with her. It's been really solid. I'm surprised. I'm still waiting. I have bated breath. I'm still waiting for, Bane Bane did show up. No.
You guys are making me regret having decided that after the last Batman Eternal to not get this one, so.
But yeah, I mean, it's not. I think though it's the absence of the main Batman thing going on. I mean, that's kind of dipping in here or there, but it's mostly a Robin story. It's mostly the Robins save Damian. I'm sure he'll come in eventually because Luke, when does Robin War play? Do you think this plays side by side with this, or before, or a little after?
I think might be a little bit before.
Yeah,
I think only because Damian hasn't showed up yet.
Yeah, he hasn't shown up. Yeah, he shows up in Robin War.
Right.
You're reading that, aren't you?
Yeah.
I actually kind of been enjoying that a little bit too, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't read the second part, but I will say this: I think this is gonna read really good in trade because right now, I mean, it's been basically 3 issues. Call it what it is. It's a glorified origin for Cassandra Cain, right?
Yeah.
Call it what it is. Now, in a weekly, it might seem like the story's going kind of slow, but I think it's kind of necessary just to give it. But I think I can trade read, get this all in one sitting. It's going to be a lot. I mean, it's good now. But I think it's going to be even better.
But I was nervous because John Paul Valley shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, what are they going to do with him? I kind of liked what they did with him, even though it's a reimagining. I know that us comic book fans, if it's not like the original, we're supposed to hate it. If it's not exactly... Which is why everyone likes Batman, I guess, right now. It's the same story over and over again. But they kind of redid him, and I kind of like it. It's kind of good, but it's different. I want to know what's going to happen with that, because that's what I think just Tim's doing right now. Or is it Tim and Jason?
Jason,
yeah, so Tim and Jason are dealing with him and Bane at the same time. Which plays back to, when those two characters meet, Bane and John Paul.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's that history still in play with this or not, but it doesn't seem like it because I don't think Bane was like, "Aren't you the guy that dressed up like Batman and beat the hell out of me, and then I beat the hell out of you, and then you beat the hell out of me?"
I think he's in his mind trip last time we saw him, right?
Yeah, which is weird because in what was the one that Grant Morrison did, Batman Inc., right?
Yeah.
Didn't the other Azrael show up in that one?
So he did the Batman. Well, which one? I don't think it was Azrael. I think it was whatever part of the world he was. No, wait a minute. I'm thinking the first one.
No, in Batman Inc. during the New 52.
Oh, the New 52.
Doesn't Batman go to him and say, "I need your help"? What's his name? Michael.
Oh yeah, he gets the suit of sorrow. Yeah.
So,
or whatever suit.
Is that just forgotten in this? Because clearly the Order of Saint Dumas is pretty big at this point. I'm kind of thinking they're eventually, I guess we're going to talk about Batman, which is going to be interesting. I think they're eventually going to have Saint Dumas go against the Court of Owls. I think that's going to be what's eventually going to go down, and I think that's something that should have been done a while ago.
That would be cool. To be honest, that actually be pretty cool.
But yeah, I mean, it's been good. I think they're actually. I was worried that they weren't building Mother as a villain, but they're starting to do so, and she seems like a horrific person.
She sounds diabolical, so yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Marvel books. Anybody reading Marvel books this week?
Squadron Supreme.
It came out this week. Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird because I mean it's always kind of been them taking a jab at the JLA.
Sure.
To a degree. But they're kind of taking it seriously in this, and we see how their version of Batman is kind of taken up and started to become rich on this new Earth that he's never belonged on. We're seeing the kind of innocent Hyperion be innocent, and he's going to become a trucker to see the world. Because he's like, I can't see it flying at thousands of miles per hour, so I'm just going to be a trucker and see it kind of slow and at my own pace. They're setting up these neat little origin stories. Did you read this issue, Sarge?
No, I flipped through it, and it just wasn't connecting with me this time. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think if you really want to pick out of the two, Justice League right now is doing a lot better. But this was kind of fun because I know it's not going to be tied into anything unless they do go by Uncanny. Then I will instantly drop it because I am not reading another Uncanny issue. Just not happening.
Yeah. Yikes. Yeah. I read lots of Marvel last week. Last week, I think I had like 6 or 7 Marvel books I read last week, which it must be all of my Marvel books are all lining up to come all in the same week of the month.
Daredevil.
Read Daredevil. I'm still really glad. Did you guys get a chance to read Daredevil?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get a chance to read it yet. Talk about that. Go ahead. Please go ahead.
I'm really liking it. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
I was back like a couple years ago when Soule was really writing primarily for DC. I was thinking this is the guy that needs to take over for Snyder when Snyder's done. And I think we're kind of getting that Batman story now, just done, through the format of Daredevil, and so I'm really enjoying it. I know that some people think they don't like dark, gritty characters, but I'm liking it. I don't know why anyone wouldn't. I think this is going to be a gem of a comic.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely enjoying it. I like the different pieces, aspects that are in it. Ten Fingers is bizarre and interesting. When I first looked at it, I thought it was just his name. His name was just Ten Fingers. It was just like something you just called somebody or whatever.
And the fingers were getting cut off.
Right, and then they show that panel, and I just thought the artist was drunk because the guy has all these extra fingers, and I'm like, oh. So that was. Yeah, I loved it. I'm like, because like I said, this time I'm like, oh man, the artist screwed up and the editors didn't catch it. He just went finger. I don't want to erase it. No, let's keep going.
Someone asked him a question while he's drawing it. Yeah.
Right.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's permanent. No, he was inking it or something. I don't know, but yeah. So I mean, that's all interesting. Of course, the way it ends, I'm excited by that. Because I don't know if you knew because I'm missing some pieces of the villains that show up at the very end of issue 2. I'm missing chunks of them in my head as far as how they play with Daredevil. I mean, I know some of the education and some of that stuff, but I don't know. I mean, I know it's gonna be bad news. I mean, because clearly they come in and cause all kinds of havoc. But so is Ten Fingers? He's somebody new, right?
Yeah, he's brand new.
Okay, that was my worry. Was that after I saw them show up, I thought, oh crap, was I supposed to know that this guy was kind of stealing somebody else's mojo?
No,
but I guess not. Okay, so that was cool. I'm like, well, that's gonna be what's coming is gonna be exciting. So
well, that's what I'm thinking. It's gonna be play between Ten Fingers and his crew, that group, and Daredevil.
Right.
Kind of all going at it. And
right.
If it was a lot of other writers, I'd be like, this is gonna. But Charles Soule, I think, can handle that. So it's gonna be really good. Yeah, this is. Yeah, if you've been reading Daredevil like for the past 10 years, this might seem foreign to you. But if you were reading like the Frank Miller stuff and stuff like that, this is bread and butter Daredevil.
Yeah.
Like it's just really good.
Yeah. So
stuff. Loving it.
Well, I'm excited by it. The art's really strong. I like the style. It matches up to the grit of it and whatnot. So, excited by that.
Was the double ship because it was the first month of it?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. I don't know. For some reason, some of the books Marvel decided to do that with. The first 1 and 2 come out in the same month, and then it goes to a monthly, kind of a thing. So I checked into that before I started buying some of these books because I will not be reading books that double ship. It's not happening.
Just not had a good history with those kind of comics.
Right.
Isn't DC doing that too soon?
We'll talk about that.
Okay.
Let's kind of weed through what we've read here just recently, and then we'll start talking about what's coming and stuff like that. So I read Hellcat. Did anybody else read Hellcat?
No.
I read Hellcat. I kind of liked it. It was fun. It's a funny book. I mean, it's supposed to be kind of tongue-in-cheek, wink, wink, nod, nod, kind of a thing. It so if you want to take any aspect of it seriously, it's not going to be the book for you. As far as that goes. I like the art in it. It's very fresh-faced kind of art. I don't know how to describe it otherwise. It's very clean. It's very. There are times where she will like she's going to have a fit or like she's going to fight somebody, and they almost make her more. They shrink her. She's a little smaller, and they make her cartoony-like, and a little more cat-like, and just kind of. So it's closer to manga/anime in that aspect. So I know that it's going to. There's a segment of people that are reading comics that are probably going to really like it because it has that. I mean, she doesn't go full on emoticons. That doesn't happen. Things aren't popping over her head and saying and saying some, and some of that stuff. But it has that kind of a feel to it. If you have watched or watch a lot of that stuff, my kids watch tons of it, so I'm exposed to a lot of it as far as that goes. So it has some of that vibe to it in it. There's some funny aspects. She starts out at the very beginning. She's going to fight this bank robber. The bank robber's a telekinetic. They get into it, and he's trying to make himself sound big and strong, and he starts quoting something, and he's quoting from the musical Wicked. And Hellcat recognizes that, and they stop fighting, and they spend like 3 hours in the park talking musicals after that. So it's just got goofy, funny things in it. So if you're not wanting to spend money on something that's just kind of light and goofy, then whatever. I'm gonna get it for a few issues because it was kind of fun. I'm interested in the character. I mean, I'd be interested in a more serious version of the character, but this is kind of fun too. I don't know how long I'll get it, but I don't have, like with Bizarro and stuff like that disappearing right now, I don't have really light comics, and I'm kind of liking having a light comic to kind of throw in my mix, so I'll hang on to it for a while. It's been kind of fun as far as that.
Speaking of kind of light but kind of having a heavy story to it, watching Spider-Woman just beat the shit out of Skrulls was great.
I love that book.
Just blew a hole through his chest.
Yeah.
I didn't have to suspend my disbelief, but the fact that she was like, no, I'm actually taking classes so that I can still do this stuff while I'm pregnant. I was like, okay, cool, they thought of that. I didn't need that, but she wraps her legs around that one's neck. Boom!
Yes.
I was like, okay, I'm into this. This is great.
Yeah. And her few moments of grabbing the counter and leaning over because her back's killing her. She's panting heavy and going, okay, I can't do this, guys. Somebody else has got to. I love that. That actually, last week, that was probably my favorite comic. I absolutely loved it all the way through. I laughed my ass off, but at the same time, I feel like I'm still being told an actual serious story that's going on. It's just her way. I guess I just like her, and I like her way of kind of sarcastically kind of dealing with the situation. Clearly this is bad. Here I am doing this stuff. It's kind of against her pride and everything like that to even go to these baby doctors. And the way it ends with Carol going, I can't get to you, the door's locked. It's like, dude, it's in the basement. Just dig a hole down here and get us out. And it's like, no, it's not really in a basement. It's like,
yeah.
Well, I'm going to spoil it. They're off in a black hole. This is basically you get on the elevator to go to your place, and it transports them into a black hole somewhere, because, clearly it's a massive hospital, and I'm sure that's one of the ways they deal with stretching it around and whatnot. So this woman who is, despite being a superhero, is very concerned about her child. She spent the last basically 9 months not fighting anything except for like when her life is directly in danger and whatnot. She's given up superheroing for a while. She's just sitting around being all pleasant. And then at the end of it, she finds out that someone has teleported her and her baby off into a black hole that nobody can get to.
Yeah.
I can't wait for next issue. Because the next issue is going to be her at the beginning just screaming Bloody Mary at Carol Danvers for sending her off to this evil baby doctor from...
What that's doing well with the humor versus other comic books that I think are... people would say is in the same vein, is the humor is going with the story, doesn't take you out of the story.
Right.
And I think that's a huge difference between like Deadpool and this.
Well,
it keeps you in the story. It's a joke that you could see someone make in the situation a lot of the time, so it doesn't take you out of it. And I think that's really well balanced. This writer is really good at that kind of stuff. Like if you're reading, he writes Ant-Man too, right?
Yeah.
Same idea.
Which came out last week also, right?
Yes, it's kind of similar humor in that sense where it's in the story and it doesn't take me out.
Yeah, there's even some of that humor in Captain America. These are all written by Nick Spencer. They all came out last week.
Yeah.
All 3 books came out last week. And there's some of that in there too. There's less, but there's still some of that kind of, kind of tongue-in-cheek kind of, the little digs, a little. I don't know. My personal life is full of that kind of humor. That's how I get through the day. Lots of times is to kind of, So I really enjoy it. I've been really enjoying these Nick Spencer books because of that. And that is something that the difference between Spider-Woman and Hellcat. Hellcat doesn't have the realistic hook to it. It does take you out of the story. It's funny, but it still kind of pulls you off. And I just got corrected because you're right. If I said Spider-Woman was written by Nick Spencer, it's not. Thank you. Mac is telling me, Brandon is telling me that's Dennis Hopeless is writing Spider-Woman.
Oh, okay.
You're right, but they do have the same. They do have the same humor.
Yeah.
They do though, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that way. Like it's just you feel like you could be friends with these characters in real life. Like if someone was like, I was in this situation, and so like while this happened, I just said this, and like it's good, well done. Where it's versus someone looking at the reader and saying blah blah blah, cat.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So what do we think of Ant-Man? Ant-Man came out last week. What do you think?
I still like it. I know it's not for
I like this. I didn't get it before. I just started with the relaunch. I like this issue better than the last two. The last two was kind of like, yeah, it's about there, but quite something. This issue really clicked for me, way more so. I liked the Deirdre stuff from last issue. I think because of course I read the FF stuff and loved all of that, so I liked that part of it. But this issue, the whole thing clicked for me. The supervillain app and the whole thing kind of all that meshed together for me.
I think it's cool that they're actually relying on the FF stuff because they could have easily said, well, new universe, new all that, we're just going to ignore that. But they're drawing on that and then using it in a different style than I'd say than FF. FF was a great comic. If you haven't read it, go read it. But it works because they were. I don't know if I want to give too much away, but yeah, I'm loving this comic. I liked the last run too. So
cool. Have you read Lazarus? Came out this week.
I have not read it yet.
Woo!
Oh no.
The last pages. The last pages was a WTF moment and not a fugue moment, but holy crap! Oh, it's another kick-ass comic. You're gonna get to see lots of Forever just wrecking people. Now that she's back online after her sniper shot, but that just was awesome. Yeah, really really cool stuff. But the end of it, it's like. I don't know. I don't know.
it never. What I like about that comic book is it always goes against my expectations of where it's going, and it never seems like beyond the like. Oh, this is ridiculous. It always catches me off guard, and I like that it catches me off guard. But that's thanks to a really good writer. So.
Right. Because really writing. Well, look this way. I got to the last pages of that. And I had enough of an outburst that everybody in my house came running to see if I was hurt. Then if I had fallen down and broke my back or something. So it was wow. It was wow. And of course another Rutka book with amazing art by Nicola Scott, Black Magic. I'm just really loving it. This issue I really loved. I love the secondary characters. Their language, them talking around as our main characters kind of walking through the police station, just the conversation that's going on there, the conversation in the bar that's got nothing to do with her whatsoever. It's just kind of background noise, but it feels very natural. Rutka does such a great job of creating a landscape as far as all that background chatter. The secondary characters immediately feel like real people. They're not just window dressing, and they're not taking away from what's going on, but they just have a perfect fill in it. Yeah.
I would say what he does really well is he puts you in the shoes of the protagonist a lot of times really good, and then when you experience those secondary, sometimes tertiary characters, you feel like you're in those shoes, so you get to know them a lot better. A lot of characters with other writers, you don't feel like they feel really one-dimensional. I would say his Gotham Central stuff is a prime example of that.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, okay, yeah, this Batman. How often does Batman even appear in that?
Sparingly.
Yeah, very little.
And it's you know those characters. That book was sold on those characters.
Yeah.
And Scott's work with doing minimal color and then making it really pop. I mean, it's just phenomenal on her art.
What cover is that, Sarge?
Oh, that was the
variant.
alternate one. Yeah, the variant.
Oh, that looks awesome.
Yeah, Yeah, I was enjoying it. My store had both, and they had a couple tucked in the back. So,
We'll pick them
though I
up
do have to say, I
now.
believe on the back you can see my fingerprints. I don't know if that was
Oh,
an issue with me or if.
Well, mine doesn't have fingerprints on it.
All
yeah.
right.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, it's like, oh, they're solving a case and
Yeah.
take it on that.
Well, then
Whitey's
I
up
did it.
now.
Yeah, I did it then. So.
Yeah, that alternate cover is Afu Richardson, AFUA. Don't know how you say that name.
I'm sure I've seen stuff, but that doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean it's I love the Seplatone
Yep.
artwork for it. It just works really, really well.
And they're letting her kind of do her own thing because she did stuff with DC and it was great. It was good looking stuff. But this stuff seems like it's on a different level than the stuff she was doing.
Oh, for sure.
And all that, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she's basically kind of painting with ink. I mean, that's really what she's doing, right? I mean, she pencils it out and then she's inking it, and instead of it all being solid lines, I mean, that's all those tones are just other layers of ink. And I think I saw her painting it, using a brush and ink, and so it's watered down. I believe. I don't believe it's like the, Copial markers. I think she really is. I can't remember. I'll have to go back and look. I'm friends with her on Facebook, so.
Whoa.
Yeah. Oh, yikes. But yeah, that's a great book.
I was just going to say I got my issue number 4 of the Paybacks. I'm loving it, but they are ending their association, I believe, with Dark Horse. But they say be ready that Paybacks are coming back, and so I don't know if that means they're jumping to a different company or.
That's probably what it means.
So I'll be really interested to see where they end up then from there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So basically, is it ending early or ending when they planned on it ending?
I think it's ending early because they said 4 is it, and they kind of put it in the back of the. They did put it in the information in the back, like this is the end, but it's not the end. Stay tuned on our Twitter and all that, and they keep hinting towards something, but they're not saying where they're going. So
that's exactly what it means then, because they probably are under some form of contract where they can't say we're discussing with these people right now. Dark Horse probably still has some publishing rights that they're going to let roll over. Because I think with Dark Horse, at least for the most part, you do own.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are creator-owned books. I mean, so.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. It's a different pay scale than, like, let's say, Images and whatnot, because Dark Horse is fronting more money.
Okay.
Than Image does. Image is basically almost all on the backs of the creators to produce their book and I mean to pay for the book until it starts making money. Whereas Dark Horse fronts more of the money up front. Dark Horse is getting more of the money up front back on that. I'd be curious to know. I mean, I've heard a lot of people talking about it. Now, granted, it's not like I know hundreds of thousands of people that are reading it, but I mean, I hear a lot of people talking about it and really liking it. And just as our kind of larger comic book community, as a litmus test, it seems very popular. So to me, I think it's strange that it would end early unless there's some sort of rub somewhere with the company and they're taking it early because they can do something better someplace else. Because I wouldn't think that it's ending early because it's not selling, but it could be. I don't know. So I would love. I mean, part of me would love to know, and part of me doesn't want to know because I don't want to know if it's something ugly. I don't want to know. You know what I mean? Kind of a thing. But super excited for everybody who's been getting it. To that it's going to move forward someplace else. You're going to keep getting it. I'm kind of left up in the air. I don't know what's going on as far as a trade goes because, of course, I didn't get those first issues, so I fully intended to pick it up and trade. And now I'm kind of like, where does the trade come in at? Is it going to come in at 4 issues? That doesn't. I mean, that seems like I don't know, not enough of a story or something. So now I'm kind of curious from that aspect as to what that's all gonna, what is that all really gonna mean? So.
Well, and I know IDW. I got that Monster Motors comic, and that was like 4 issues. and that was it comes out in the same bound style as the Island used to.
The square bound, right?
Yeah, the square bound. So I mean, can they? Yeah. Would it look good? I don't know. I mean,
I'd be curious to see the sales of it.
Yeah. And I haven't been paying attention, so I don't know what the sales are.
Yeah.
So yeah. Did you read East of West?
No.
Dude.
I already knew coming in.
Not as super exciting as the last issue, of course, because the last issue is just freaking awesome with the whole assassination attempt thing. But still really good. Now we get to see some of the aftermath of the failed attempt, and who it is that called for the strike and cleaning that up, and we get to see a whole bunch more from the prince of the I can't remember the name of the nation now. The nation that's basically like Louisiana and down south.
Mustache guy.
Some more stuff with them. So I'll be curious to see. Curious to see what that ends up being like. So yeah. Deadly Class. You read Deadly Class last week, right?
Oh, I almost bought that one.
Oh, you didn't
Pittsburgh.
get it?
No,
Oh.
I just got back, so all my books for 2 weeks are here in my shop.
Okay. You have it though, right?
Okay, I gotta pick it up tomorrow.
Oh, okay. It continues being awesome comic.
Yeah.
Go ahead, talk about it.
Well, no. I mean, other than clearly the last arc ended with them basically everybody's at a pep assembly and they turn off the lights and they go kill the rats.
Royal Rumble. Have at it.
and certain people are earmarked as rats.
Mm.
It's not just Marcus. There's a whole bunch of them that are earmarked as rats. Basically, the weak people, I think, are earmarked as rats. And so yeah, it's absolutely nuts. The cheerleaders are awesome in it. I mean, the Russian meatheads, the nerdy guy that's been picked on the whole time.
Yeah.
You knew that was going to come back to bite Marcus in the ass. You know, you don't screw somebody else's girlfriend. You just don't, because
she was a hottie though.
Does not matter.
I don't know.
What she is.
I've never done that, but I don't know that would work. You said she's hot, so okay, cool. I was forgiven.
Yeah. Hey, do you something your girlfriend because she's hot? I don't see that saving me from getting my teeth knocked out. I just know it. But
Luke's smoother than us, man.
Yeah, I guess he is. He is. He can bench more than me, so maybe that's what it is too. But oh my gosh, it's nuts. There's not a lot to talk about necessarily. I mean, there is, but it's just bonkers, and it's really already once again super excited to see where it goes. Where the plot threads are going to go, because they have to survive 24 hours, or is it a whole week? I can't remember. It's like 24 hours or whatever it is. Being marked as a rat. If they can make it past that, then they're fine. The class gets graded on how many rats you kill, and everybody's trying to beat what's his name, the master, the
guy on the cover.
Yeah, all I can think of is the guy from I don't even want to say Lopan. All I can think of is his name from
Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, that's all I can think of. But anyway, he's got the records for the number of rats killed. So some of the guys are trying to break that record. So it's going to be.
And they're selling this. They're selling this as like if you haven't been reading this, you want to hop on. They're selling this as an issue you can hop on with, and I think it is.
Yeah, you probably could. Brandon's reminding me. See, Brandon, you should just come on the show. You got lots to talk about. He's reminding me that the people who are rats are the people who don't come from crime families. Basically, if you're not connected, you're kind of the weak, and they're going to weed you out, kind of a thing. Is kind of what it is. You're right. That is what it comes down to, basically.
No, you're the one who said. Was it your video that was saying that? Basically, this Remender saying this is really like the beginning of the story.
That wasn't mine.
It wasn't yours, and not who
No.
said. Basically, said that was the other issues really were just laying the foundation for the characters know that this is really where the story really starts.
Wow, it's beautiful. The art's beautiful. It's dynamic. It's nuts. It's nuts and really, really cool. So excited for it. Yeah.
For those who read the Lock and Key series, this week was the week that the coloring book came out, and I know Travis, your show is well watched by many in the big two, so I am into coloring. If you need any of your books done, I'd eventually like to do Batman with Capullo and Snyder. So.
Hey, you joke? Aren't they doing that?
Oh yeah,
DC
they're
doing that?
doing covers. DC's going to be doing the coloring cover books, which I just can't see myself buying one to color. I maybe I'll buy one if I think a colorist is going to be someplace and I can get them to color it. Maybe
That would be cool.
You know, at a
That would be
con.
cool.
Yeah.
You know, at a con, but that would be. What I'm going to do is if they come, I don't know when they come out. If they come out before I go to Emerald City Comic Con, I may buy a ton of them and see how many of them I can get Dave Stewart to color, because Dave Stewart's always there. He's always really quiet. He's sitting at a table like next to Magnola or something like that. Most people don't ever seem to pay attention to him or talk to him because he's always surprised when I talk to him. Because I just think he's amazing. I mean, right now, I think there's like a renaissance of colorists, right? I mean, or am I the one? I mean, it seems like right now colorists are getting lots of recognition, which of course they deserve. Coloring is really making a lot of comic books and stuff. Super exciting. Dave Stewart has been rocking colors for 7, 8, 9 years. He's out in front of a lot of this, and so I would be cool to get him to color some books for me. But I don't know otherwise. I mean, when I was like 6 years old, I colored in a Amazing Spider-Man once with a red ballpoint pen, colored in all the red spots, and it still pains me to this day to even remember that I did that. So
that'd be like making wallpaper out of them. That would be ridiculous.
Oh yeah, who would do that?
Now it's okay to do this. It's the generation of coloring is coming back.
Yeah, they're giving you permission. Well, that's a whole coloring book though. See, that's cool.
Yeah.
See, what I'm hoping DC will do is after they do these covers, because I don't want to buy a bunch of covers. I want colored covers.
Yeah.
I hope they put out a book of the covers. Oh. I'll be all over that. I will buy that in a heartbeat. Yep. They're going to put out a coloring book that is all the covers. That'll be awesome because that'll be fun. But I don't plan on buying a coloring book cover and then coloring it myself. I just don't feel myself doing that. So, yeah.
I'll do one and sign it and make sure I send it to you, Travis.
I appreciate that.
We knew him when.
Yeah, that's right. When he was acting like it was a joke. I used to tease myself and think, if I ever get just enough money that I can kind of quit my real day job, I'll become a colorist, and that'll be my way into comic books. Not anymore. No way. Because of how good a job some of these colorists do.
Yeah.
No. Like I said, when it seemed to be more about color by numbers, it was a little more simple. I thought, okay, I can just do this. I know Batman is blues and grays. I got that, back when his symbol was yellow around it. I can do this, Not now. Nope. Not gonna happen.
Maybe an inker down the road, but that would be rough too. So I don't.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So, any other recent books we want to talk about? Let's just talk in general, if we don't got anything. So. Anybody want to wing it? Like, what was awesome last year?
Wow.
Well, since we were just talking colors, I have to say Weird World. The artwork and color work on that, it sells me every time.
That's Mundo, right?
Del Mundo, and I don't have my book around to see who his colorist is, but because I don't know if Del Mundo did the colors or not. I think he has somebody though.
It was just like a bonus that was a good story too.
Yeah.
And I'm liking this new Weird World too, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm digging that too. Like, but the characters from the original Weird World are in this one, but it's someone from modern times, which I think is going to be interesting too. I saw a lot of people not liking it, and I couldn't figure out why. To be honest, I thought it was.
I didn't either. And I guess I'm there to have fun and just explore and just to to feel the comic, because it's so visual. But I like I like the character already. I mean, I like she's got something. She got her own thing going on. I like the person that she's the sidekick for. Maybe she's big. Maybe she's big and ridiculous. I mean, if that's a criticism, she's just this kind of thuggish. So what? I mean, that's going to make her interesting. She's going to be this storming forward meathead. Let's kill wizards. I mean, and she drives this big ass muscle car. I don't understand how that could be bad.
But
Well,
maybe they didn't
gonna
read the original. Is the thing, because the original was like a mix. Like there was just all kinds of crazy shit coming in from all different books. So that didn't seem out of the norm for me. Did it seem for you, Sarge?
I just felt it was a little too much after we saw Akron that we have this other barbarian, but it's like a Conan book.
Yeah.
If you get it, and somebody says, well, it's just like every other Conan, yes, because that's why I pick it up. Did Star Wars seem like all the other Star Wars? Yes, because that's what makes it great. So I think that's the thing you go into it for. That is the reason why to read these books. It, like you said, Travis, it is a fun character. Read it for the fun. If you don't feel attachment on that first one, then maybe it's not your style. Skip off of it. But yeah, I think it's going to be an amazing series.
Yeah. Trying to think. That one, and then I didn't mention Thor in my video. I think Thor's great. I'm enjoying Thor. I don't know if a lot of people are reading that. I think it's great. Birthright was great this year. I'm enjoying that. Trying to think of what else was good this year. There was a lot. The problem is, like last year, I felt like there wasn't enough. This year, there were so many good comics that I don't know that I can name them all.
Yeah, it was an awesome, for me personally anyway, it was an awesome year of comics. I bought so many more comics that were good, that I enjoyed, that had really solid stuff going on versus the few that I have bitched about here and there along the way. I genuinely really enjoyed them. It feels like this year there were a lot more comics that I really enjoyed. Not just, oh, that was fun. I like that because it was this or it was that. Well, like the Black Canary. I like it because it's Black Canary. It's fun, but it's not like an exceptional or really great book. But there is, like I said, there is so much, so much great stuff that I wouldn't be able to do a top 5 or a top 10 or a whatever. I don't think, because I would name off everything I read, basically. Not to say that I only read great stuff, but there's just been so much stuff that has just been it's been fabulous. There's just a lot of really, I think I don't know, it's not the golden age of comics, it's not the new golden age of comics, but there's a lot of great stuff. I mean, there's clearly room to improve the diversity of comics, but I think it has improved, considerably. You can't take that away. I mean, clearly the argument it can be there that we can continue to expand and do more stuff. It seems like there's like a million sci-fi books out there right now. But they're starting to get weeded out. I really do. I really feel like that the strong ones, or the first ones maybe, the ones that people are most attached to, those are the ones that are staying around. Some of the others are. Whatever. It'd be nice if we get some other branches. Let's get some more westerns out there. There's some romance comics that are floating around out there. Some of them have been good. Some of them have been not so good, as per usual. I don't know. To me, it feels like it all keeps expanding, and that's great. I mean, it's stretching my dollar a lot harder than what it used to. And I was having a discussion today about it. The fact that the one problem I'm having is because, I read Lazarus, right? Head blown at the end of it, and then I read the back matter at the end of it. We're not going to see another Lazarus book until May.
Wow.
May. There's going to be, the trades are coming out. There's going to be a source book that comes out that I might pick up that has to do with the whole Carlisle and just the some of the eccentric characters. It's going to have to do with troop structure. So it's a source book. I mean, for those people who game, you know what a source book is. Although if you don't, it's just going to be a lot of encyclopedic information about the world. So I may pick that up just out of curiosity's sake. But I'm like, man, it's going to be clear until May. And I'm thinking, well, the good side is clear until May. That means I've got 6 months to pick up new stuff, look at new stuff. And then I go, but the only problem is if I start picking up new stuff that I'm excited about and want to keep reading, then Lazarus comes back. I'm not going to not get Lazarus because it's been freaking awesome. So now I've got maybe more books. I'm at that kind of tipping point of how many books can I afford, and quite frankly, how many books can I afford to read just because I only got so much time in my life to read books. I don't want to have books sitting around that I don't read on a weekly basis. So yeah, I'm at that, what do I quit reading? And I'm like, the problem is, for me, I love superhero books. I love the superhero genre. I can complain about both of the big two, some of their antics, some of their business practices. Do I think they could put out some better product than they are? Yeah, all of those things. But I love superheroes. I love Batman. Quite frankly, I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man's just not in a place right now that I want to read him. But I'm waiting for that time to come so I can go back to read Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I love the X-Men. I love all of that stuff. The Justice League. But because I've been reading that for 30 some odd years, those are the books that are starting to slip out of my reading because I've read that stuff for a very long time, and there's this other stuff, this new stuff that's out there. It doesn't mean I'm not going to come back to it, but I can see this slowly. Superhero books are disappearing, and it's not a criticism on the product of the superhero book. For me personally, I've read lots and lots of that, and there's this new stuff up here I want to check out. And when I get to that tipping point, I'm thinking there's going to be some of that superhero stuff that's going to be sliding. But I'm not sure. Who knows? By the time it comes to that point, there could be the superhero stuff could be firing on all cylinders again, and I could be super excited about that and be reading more of that right now. So
I just think, like, even 2 or 3 years ago, I was running out of stuff to read. Versus now, I feel like I have so much stuff I should be reading that I'm not even getting around to, and I would much rather be in this than the drought. And so I don't know where a lot of people are coming from saying, oh, this is one of the worst times in comics. I guess you're reading the wrong stuff because I feel like there's too much out there for me to enjoy right now that I can't get to.
Yeah. The only upside is you hope it survives long enough to get enough content out there that's going to be a good story going. And then I guess, if you're one of those people that can wait, if you didn't catch it now, a couple years from now, you can find it sitting in a bargain bin maybe somewhere, or on eBay for 200 times the price of the original issue because it's Saga and it's still running solid as could be, kind of thing. So, that's the other. The other side to that whole, that whole thing as far as that goes. But yeah,
and a lot of people's top 10, 100 names that I've seen or that I've heard from you guys, I think that we're seeing a lot more strength of independent books, and I'm hoping that continues. That the big two will always be there, but I think hopefully we're seeing a very large resurgence of books that reach out to different people, like you guys say, that don't have to hit all the same notes.
Mm-hmm. And the big two has to be there. That's the other thing. Yeah. People. I know people want them to go away, but if they go away, I think they take the industry with them. To be blatantly honest.
Well, and I think there's things that we're seeing that the big two is trying to start to pick up. I mean, they're scared to do it, but the DCU or some of these other kind of interesting Marvel titles, I think it's kind of reaching out on that we need to get some of these, markets. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and we're benefiting from it, so I don't hate it one bit.
I do think it's a good year for Marvel that when they did this whole transition from Secret Wars to what they have now, that there were books that survived for you guys, like Miss Marvel, the Thors. I mean, there were ones that didn't have to be touched by Mr. Doom here. So I'm hoping that they're seeing some things like that maybe everything doesn't have to be part of the big event.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that the whole. You're right. The big two have to be there. They're the infrastructure. They're the machine that keeps it all going. Really, if suddenly if Time Warner and Disney decide, you know what, we're done with comic books, close them down completely, just like that, shut them all down, none of us would get comic books. We wouldn't. Realistically, none of us get comic books. You can complain all you want to about Diamond. 100%, it is a monopoly. I don't know how that works. I don't know how they get away with being the only distributor or whatever. That really should probably be fixed somewhere. But if the big two weren't that machine that's cranking and keeping everything moving, nothing else would get to it. Everything else, still, everybody talks about how great Image is. It still only holds 13% of the market. It's still piggybacking off the big two. The big two are the machines that keep all the stores open, that keep Comixology open, that keep everybody open for everything else to piggyback on. If they disappeared, there's all of these little companies that are making money would have to be throwing enough money into the pot to keep everything else supported, and it wouldn't work. I noticed that there were some people that were complaining about the fact that a lot of the big name writers, the really creative people or whatnot, are moving on to independent books. Makes perfect sense. I mean, I know a lot of these people started out having a love affair with whatever their comic book was and whatnot, but there's certainly an appeal to being able to create your own content, your own thoughts and feelings, and to put them out there and have people consume them, and that's awesome. Here's the I think the positive side to it. As these big name people, I swear to God, it seemed like for a while, like Jason Aaron, Matt Fraction, and Bendis, the Snyders, the Greg Ruckas, it seemed like there were like 10 writers, and they were writing every book that was out there, right? All the big two books. Now, if they go off and do independent stuff and quit writing the big two, that opens it up for us to see the Souls start to come in, the Charles Soules to start to come in. I'm excited by it because we're going to find some talent that hasn't been used yet. I guarantee you, there's probably 3 or 4 dozen more awesome comic book writers sitting out there waiting to get a job, and this is their way to get a job if these heavyweights are going off and able to afford to do their own stories. So I'm getting their great stories wherever they got going on, and we are going to get, like I said, get these new people coming in. So I think it's a way to introduce some new blood into it, and I'm excited for that.
I also think you're going to see people going back and forth too.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to see people maybe take a break from the big two to work in independence and then come back. I think the industry's doing good.
Yeah, corporate comics is good money. As much as people want to badmouth it, whatnot, it's good money, and they get paid. You've got a steady paycheck. There's a lot to be said for that. For those things and whatnot, and you're right. I mean, because a lot of those people do like those characters that are in the big two. So if the right opportunity presents itself to, unless they've been burnt by a company really bad, if the right opportunity presents itself for them to write some whatever they want to, it'll be cool. Yeah. I think. So let's talk some specifics. Secret Wars, right? Going to end next month. Hopefully, it's going to end next month. But we've already got dozens of books that are new, that are spun out of, not spun out of, but are the after effect of the Secret Wars. Did the Secret Wars hurt the Marvel Universe, or is this a good thing? Anybody care to have an opinion?
It didn't stop me from. I mean, because I don't think there was any comic book I stopped reading because of it, so I can't necessarily trash it.
Are you picking up any new books because of it?
I don't know, because I mean, like things like Vision and things like that. I don't know if they would have not come out because of this. So I don't know. I mean, one of the comics I tried was Uncanny, and that was directly tied into the results of it.
Right.
And I didn't like that, but Invincible Iron Man has some results from that, and I'm still enjoying that, even though I don't know how Doctor Doom got to to the point of where he is. So it hasn't really affected me too much, and I'm reading a lot of Marvel right now. I think I'm actually reading more Marvel than DC, actually, which is something I didn't see since the 90s, which is weird.
I was going to say, for me, it's been a good thing. I'm actually trying more books, and I'm reading way more Marvel books than I've read in quite a number of years. So I guess it's the same as the New 52, which to me, I mean, part of me thinks it's funny because I went through the New 52, and that was quite painful when that all started and whatnot. And there was this whole group of people who kind of laughed at my pain because they weren't DC fans, and those are the fans that are pulling their hair out now and hate the Daredevil, hate Thor, hate the Avengers now, and all this stuff that's changed, and all for the worse, and it's fandom just crying to cry for lack of anything better. I mean, I get it. I mean, I sympathize because I was there. I don't think I was a bad behavior. I wasn't a bad actor when it came to the change in the New 52. I was upset, but I was also willing to see what was there. And I just think you kind of need to keep an open mind about it, and I think it brings in more fans. I think you're going to get a whole group of fans, just like with the New 52. You're going to get a whole group of people who either quit reading comics for a very long time, have heard all this stuff is starting over, so they're jumping on because it's starting over, or they never read comics and they heard all this new stuff is out, and so now they're getting in. It's gonna open the door. We're gonna see. I almost bet money 6 months from now we're gonna start seeing other YouTube channels pop up and whatnot of people who just started reading comics because of the whole Secret Wars thing and all this stuff starting and whatnot. And I think it's nothing but good. Granted, your character may be messed up for a while or changed for a while,
Sure.
but history shows that these things go back in some sense or another. I mean, occasionally they're always that way, and it never changes back. But that's rare, really.
My prediction is by the September of 2016, everything will be corrected by Secret Wars 2.
T-O-O.
T-O-O.
But the thing is, I think if you read comic books for long enough, these what seem like drastic changes kind of become a norm to you a lot of the time. I think of so many comic books that I've been enjoying that get canceled, that get relaunched and all of that. I'm just kind of used to it, I guess.
Well,
these were bigger. I will admit these were a lot bigger, the New 52 and this, than ones in the past. But, I mean, I'm kind of used to it. It didn't bother me as much, I guess.
I just wonder because I know there are people who who are clearly thinking that this just kind of change is bad, kind of a thing, and I mean I don't like seeing stuff canceled. I hate having my stuff canceled and stuff too. But the larger picture, for the health of comic books, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's it introduces stuff. Like I said, right now I'm reading a lot more than what I would have read Marvel, 6 months ago.
The only thing I wish about Marvel, I just wish they would stop with the renumbering. I don't want to say go like DC where you're going to 700, but it's like the constant new number one. It's like Spider-Man or whatever.
I definitely see for a long-term collector, if you're going to suddenly go back and try collecting bits and pieces of this, it's going to be a kind of a crazy nightmare to try and figure out what you go and get a number one. Then you're someplace else and there's number two, and you pick it up and it's the number two from a different volume, kind of a thing. So that's all that aspect of it's going to be really frustrating. You almost think that at some point they need to make, I don't know, just do seasons, and every 12 issues they it's season 2 or it's season 3. But then after a while, people aren't going to pick it up, right? Because if they see it and it says season 5, issue number 1, well, I don't want to come in, mid-season. I don't know. But as much as we complain about it, as long as people keep buying it, it's and every time they put out a number 1, the sales are a bump. It's not a stay even. It's not like those of us. I was collecting Daredevil and it started over, and I'm collecting Daredevil, and it's starting over, and I'm collecting Daredevil. It's not a constant. Every time a new number 1 comes out, they get a bump, and as long as that reward is there, it's not going to stop now. I don't think.
It's weird because they even tried with the crossover. I think this was last year between Guardians of the Galaxy and X-Men. They had it as a number one, but it was a big number one, and then you had to look a little bit below it to see the actual number. It was number one for this arc. And part of me kind of liked that. I thought, well, if you're going to keep the actual numbering and then just have that big number one on there to go, this is when you hop on, I like that. But versus where they're having like every year and a half a relaunch of I don't know if I can handle that.
But that's us as long-term collectors talking, right? If you're a new collector, what does that mean? Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I don't know that it means the same.
Do you think it's people who are just buying it because it's number one?
Sure.
The people who are buying 3 or 4 copies of a number one?
You know, I hope to shout it's not people buying it because it's number one and it's going to be valuable because it's a number one. I hope to shout that's not what it is. I hope to shout it's as much as, oh, this is something new. I want to buy the first issue so I can start at the beginning, and if it's something I like, I'm going to keep reading it. I hope to shout that's what it is.
Yeah.
Because if it's a new number one Spider-Man, the market is so saturated with number one Spider-Mans, except for the original, number one Spider-Mans, that they're it can't have a value, can it? I mean, I know I don't pay attention to the secondary market very well, so I don't know what eBay does. I mean, you can find anything for a crazy price on eBay. I mean, modern comics, CGC'd, and they're selling it for $5,000. I don't know if anybody buys these modern comics for that kind of money, but I know they get posted for that kind of money. So I don't know. So I don't know that aspect of it. But if you're not somebody who's collecting comics a long time, or you start collecting comics and you're interested in the collection of comics, not just reading a comic, because to some degree those are two different things. That starting over number isn't. I don't know if it has the same sort of an effect.
Yeah, I'm not. If you want to find those channels are out there where they are really good at figuring out the prices and all that. I watch them from time to time. I'm not that kind of a collector. I do have some holy grails out there that I want to get my hands on, but for the most part, I don't go back and buy a bunch of old issues all at once. So I don't know it as well as other people do. I don't know that this is. To me, it just seems like it's gonna be a pain in the ass numbering wise. 10, 11 years down the road.
Yeah. And who knows? If it'll continue 10 years from now, they may be off to something completely different. They may suddenly decide that those big numbers, mean something, or they'll start the number back up. They'll count all the Spider-Mans that have been in between, and suddenly we'll be on Spider-Man, 1019. Suddenly.
They did that with Detective, didn't they? Didn't they have an issue that was supposed to be?
They had a single issue that it went back to its numbering, went back to 500 or 900. 900?
Yeah.
900. Wonder Woman before the New 52, it went back to its original numbering before they killed it once again and relaunched it again. The fans made that happen. Wonder Woman was on a newer run of numbering, and Dan Didio said, if I get 600 postcards telling me we should change the number back to the old numbering, I'll do it. So some of us sent postcards in. I did. I sent in 10. Saying that you wanted it changed, and then it went back to being 600, and then went from 600 to like 614 before they shut the whole comic down and started the New 52 and whatnot. So. Yeah.
But with the renumbering, a lot of that is that for the sales for the comic shops themselves, do you think also? Because, isn't that what fuels a brick-and-mortar building, is people coming in the door with the rise of digital product? A lot of this might be easier to find and collect. If it wasn't,
it helps.
Well, it could be. I think I see online brick-and-mortar stores grumbling about the renumbering as much as anybody. The number one they like, I think, because they get a bump in sales. Yeah. They order extras at number ones because they know those are going to sell. It's the problem is of all those number ones, then number 2, number 3, number 5 doesn't sell, and then they have a whole bunch of those sitting in their 50-cent bin because at a loss because they didn't because They weren't putting they feel like they weren't putting the effort into the other issues beyond the number one.
All right.
They could do something like Multiversity, where every issue was a number one except for the last one.
There you go.
They only had one number two in that entire run.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you just do a series where every issue is number one, and then you'll make so much money you won't know what to do with it.
Right. So Secret Wars and the shift of Secret Wars is kind of a mixed bag as far as whether that's a good thing or bad thing. Is that kind of what we're saying?
Yeah.
There's aspects of it that are good, and clearly aspects of it that are not good. Let's pick on DC for a few moments. So we've seen announcements that DC is talking about some of their titles going to double shipping twice a month. What do we think?
I'm going to drop anything I'm reading that's doing that, to be blatantly honest. I've never seen a book do well double shipping.
I said on Twitter I will never buy a double ship comic. I will asterisk edit that. It depends on how it's produced, depends on whether or not I buy a double ship comic. Chances are I'm not buying a double ship comic because they never turn out well, in my opinion, as a whole. I think the weekly comic is a unique little machine because it's doing its own kind of a thing, and even that has some schizophrenic moments because you've got all these different people, doing the work, and so I like consistency when it comes to a title, and I don't feel like the weekly comics are they're exciting, the story's interesting, as we talked about with like the Batman Eternal Robin, but they're not consistent, and I like a consistent comic, and a twice a month to me book isn't going to be that unless it's produced in some way that it's two stories going on and somehow those two stories make sense being told separately from each other instead of just in one damn comic. I won't be having it. I think it's bullshit, and you almost bet money Batman's gonna be one of the damn comics they do it with.
But I can't remember how they did that. But in Black Mirror, that's maybe a frame how maybe it can work. You have the one writer doing it, but you have the two artists.
But those were two different arcs going on, right?
Yeah, but it kind of molded into one, kind of like what you're talking about. You can have two separate stories kind of molding in together.
Right, but one story was told, then the other story was told, and they put that out like Black Mirror, Skeleton Key, right?
Right.
It's how they put those out. So all I got for a while was the Skeleton Key story, right? And then all I got was the Black Mirror parts of it, right?
I couldn't remember how it was released.
Yeah, that's how it was. That's how it was released. Was it released where, the first half of the month I'm reading, Dick Grayson dealing with the killer whale being, stuck in the lobby of a bank, and then in the second half of the month, it's Gordon dealing with his son, and the overflowing sink in the diner bathroom stuff. Awesome comics. But I don't know. I just.
You really think Batman's gonna be one of them?
Why wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if it'd be the Batman. I think a Batman title.
Why wouldn't it be the Batman?
Oh wow.
It will sell. I mean,
how's it going to affect the writer? Here's the other aspect of it. How's it going to affect the writer? Most writers can write more than one script in a month, right? So that's just extra. That's just extra money for them getting to write the same damn story, basically. Just kind of watching Twitter, and you get these. Most artists are like, oh God, at least the ones that aren't working for the big two right now, they're all like, if you can avoid being on a book that ships double, stay away from it. It's like the worst thing ever for you. The artist is saying. So to me, that sounds bad, and I don't know exactly what the reasons are behind that. But for the writer, they can just write more of the same thing. I don't know. Well, I guess one of the things that really irritated me also is Nick Spencer, who I do follow on Twitter, mostly like the guy most of the time, like a lot of his work and whatnot, was like, I think it's a good idea to double ship. And basically he kind of implied that me as a reader, I'm not smart enough to retain the story for a month to read the next issue. If I can't retain the story for a month to read the next issue, that says more about you, buddy, and your writing if I cannot remember what the hell happened in last issue to read the next issue that's coming out. I take personal offense to that because you know what? I read, how many books do I read a month?
Yeah.
Let's see, 15 times 4. I read a lot of books, and the good books, I do not forget what happened the last issue. I may go back and read the last issue because it's complicated enough, there's enough little details I want to catch the nuance, but if I can't remember what happened to the last issue, you suck as a writer.
Yeah, I was supposed to say, that's not a problem, because you typically have the last issue typically close by, if not in a long box. If you're really lost, you can just go back and be like, okay, I missed something here.
But let's play the devil's advocate in that. Isn't it maybe the good thing is that you don't have to wait another month for the next issue? If it's something that's that good, you're getting it sooner.
Except history shows that you're not getting the same thing sooner. Hell yeah! If I could get Deadly Class, if I could get if I could get East of West, if I could get Black Magic, if I get Lazarus every week at the quality that I'm getting right now, rock on.
Yeah.
But we all know it doesn't work that way.
No, it typically what happens is
that's why I'm not going to see another Lazarus until May, which is like, oh damn. But I know when it comes back, I'm going to get them all doing their best work, giving me an excellent product. Not just churning something out because it's Spider-Man, it's Captain America, it's Batman, it's Superman, it's these big name things that people are just consuming to consume. I guess is where I come at from that,
In my experience, it typically starts out decent issue, good issue, good issue, bad issue, bad issue, bad issue, bad issue. It just gets to the point where it just becomes all bad because it's just that's a grind for an artist. I mean, a writer might be able to handle it, but I kind of don't think a writer can really handle it and keep the product consistent. To be honest, I think they see dollar signs, but at the same time, I've seen the best writers try and do that and not do a good job.
Just forget monthly comics then. Quit putting out monthly comics. Don't double ship. Give me a original graphic novel every 6 months. Screw monthly comics. Let's just quit having a Batman every month. Just quit. Just give me. I'll go to the store and lay down my $15 or whatever, $16, and buy not a trade because it's not a collection of stuff that came out monthly. Give me an original, all contained in one story every 6 months. That's what you're telling me. That's kind of what the implication from some of the writers, some of the creators who think this is a good idea that should be done. Let's just do that then. If I'm not smart enough to retain it or whatever, and I know I'm picking on that guy's words, but it irritated me like nobody's business, obviously, because I'm still grumbling about it. But let's do it that way. I don't know what books it's going to be and whatnot. I think there's a supposed list someplace, but something else I decided this year. I'm no longer having anything to do with Bleeding Cool whatsoever. You'll never hear.
That's a resolution.
It is. It is. You'll never hear me talk about that site again. I don't follow them on Twitter anymore. I'm not going to their page. I'm having nothing to do with them. I think they're nothing but bad. I think that they'll report dirty, nasty, ugly stuff on people when it's fun for them and they can exploit it and whatnot. And if they have any leverage with whatever's going on, or one of them has an in with a company, they won't air those people's dirty laundry, kind of a thing. It's happened very recently with Dark Horse Comics, and one of the head editors there, Bleeding Cool, sat on a bunch of information and then kind of played it off like it was nothing. I think that's bullshit. This latest thing with somebody did a quote-unquote review of the Wonder Woman Earth 1 book and brutally ripped it apart. And Rich Johnson, who is the guy who basically runs Bleeding Cool, and Bleeding Cool are talked about their review and basically are using it to try and get leverage to force a company that pre-releases stuff to certain people to read and do critiques of it in advance to kind of help get the word out there. He's trying to use that as leverage for them to get on the list, for Bleeding Cool to get on that list to get these release stuff and whatnot. And the problem is, I think that's kind of crappy and manipulative. And the review of the book is pretty toxic and not a good critique of the work. I mean,
is it even an honest critique at that then?
Well, it's honest. Clearly, that person who that person who talked about it had definite, clearly emotional feelings about what was being put out there. But yeah, I wouldn't say it was good critique because I don't think they look at the whole of what's going on there, and because Bleeding Cool has a much higher traffic rate than this person had. They are now producing hundreds of thousands of hits to something that is pretty toxic, and on top of it, using it to their advantage. And maybe I will get the book and I will read it and go, oh my God, it's all about them being tied up in chains and the dude bro, douchebag Greek gods being assholes. I mean, maybe that's what the whole book is. I just have a feeling that Grant Morrison, that isn't all that he wrote. I mean, from listening to Grant Morrison, there's already clearly he's going to be having a discussion about the whole bondage thing that kind of Wonder Woman comes out of, and some of the other aspects are in the book. He's going to explore that, but I want to be able to read that and explore that, and I don't know that the person who is tearing the book apart understands that there was something being looked at beyond that. It was bad. So I'm just really frustrated. I'm frustrated, and I don't want to give energy to what I personally, what everybody else cares, I don't care. This is my channel. This is being hosted on. Are a bunch of douchebags, basically. They're a bunch of
TMZ.
They're a bunch of Ricks with a silent P, and I'm done supporting their shenanigans. So, yeah. So. Something I was going to talk about in my What the Fugue, that my battery ran out, so I didn't talk about it. But yeah, I'm done with that. I'm done with them. I am no longer, participating in their BS. So, at any rate, not that the other places are great either. I think they're all running afraid of the big two. If you say anything too bad, they're just not going to give you the first shot at things. So you kind of take what you can get with any of them. But yeah, they're more diabolical about it than the others are, it seems. So
I was going to tell you guys, in 2016, I am writing for Bleeding Cool. So
he just bought him.
Okay, yeah. So how do I mute people on this?
Yeah.
No, I mean, just my experience with that website is that a lot of times they will just quickly print something that seems really clickbaitish without any thought of the consequences or anything like that. And for me, I do think that there should be exposés of certain things, but I think you should do your due diligence as a journalist before you do that. And I haven't seen that at Bleeding Cool. I think a lot of the times they are, like I said, the TMZ of comic book news, and so I don't like that website. But again, I don't think there's any good comic book websites really out there, to be blatantly honest. I think a lot of them are worried about getting access to writers, companies, and all that, so they either kiss their ass or downplay a lot of things a lot of the time.
Well, they're getting their comics free. They're getting their comics free to review them and whatnot. So if you're getting a comic for free to review, and you want to keep getting comics to read free to review, do you burn the comic down if it sucks?
No.
Exactly. That's why I come to YouTube and all of you folk to give me an honest opinion. Maybe I don't agree with your opinion, but it's an honest opinion. You spent your hard-earned dollar. I'm assuming no one's come forward to say that they're getting their comics for free unless you're stealing them off the internet somewhere, and then I don't really care to talk to you. That's a whole other can of worms that we could get into, but we won't, because my opinion never changes on that. You steal, you steal. So I feel like I'm getting your guys' actual opinions on what you read or didn't like because you go to work and then you spend your money on the things you want to spend your money on. So you spend your money on something that does not work and is bad or whatever, or some aspect of it's bad. You can honestly say, hey, this is this way. I haven't been purchased by anybody to do something differently.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike. Tell me you get your comics for free, so I can really shut you down.
Well, no.
He's like, well, I don't go on the internet and steal them, but I am
Right.
known as Five Finger Mike.
That's right.
Just run by my comic shop and grab whatever kid's
Uh,
bag.
So now we know why there's fingerprints on his comics. He's squeezing it really tight as he's running along, shoving him down his pants to get out of the place. So yeah.
I guess, do you want to talk about Batman?
Let's talk Batman. And the reason I want to talk Batman in is because it feels like to some degree we're on the edge of maybe venturing off into some new Batman territory as far as creators go. Clearly, Capullo's got like one issue left, right? And then he's off the book for some period of time, says he's going to come back, but he also is going to be off doing this independent work with Millar, making a comic that'll be a movie and it'll make them all rich, of course. So let's talk old Batman first. Let's do that.
Okay.
So we got Batman from this last month backwards. And I know that we all kind of have, to some degree, have different opinions, I think, on CDC's kind of done, right?
Oh, well, okay. Is Snyder really getting off the book on 50? Because that's going to be the determining factor for me, really.
No, I don't know that he's getting off the book. Capullo is, but I don't think Snyder is.
Okay, yeah, because I've heard that rumor. Maybe it was Bleeding Cool, but that he was going to maybe leave the comic. The problem I have is, first and foremost, who doesn't know that Bruce Wayne is Batman in that comic book right now? Go ahead, name them. Go ahead.
Who doesn't know that Bruce Wayne is Batman?
Yeah.
Harvey Bullock.
There you go. You got one. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely.
That bothered me more than anything. The fact that they're gonna have the Joker and him be friends until he remembers, that bothered me to a degree because I saw that coming. I said that the minute he came back and he's like, I don't have a memory. I'm like, they're gonna meet up and they're gonna be friends, and then there's gonna be a realization. I don't think Joker's gonna remember his identity because I think the whole reason they did this amnesia thing partly was so that they could have the Joker not remember who he is. But I think there's going to be that weird moment. They're going to be in a store, and he's going to tell, oh, it's just a joke or something. And then Bruce is going to be like, oh, they're going to have that panel of him. I know who he is now. The problem I have is you have a comic book that sells no matter what you do with it. They changed Thor, people complain. They changed Captain America, people complain. They have Commissioner Gordon being Batman right now. No one has really complained on that level. I mean, there's other reasons, but bear with me for a minute here. So they can clearly take those risks. So instead of doing that, they've had this Joker come back. And when the Joker comes back, I should be saying, oh, shit, it's going down. But you've oversaturated this comic book with this character so much that it's not a big deal when he shows up anymore, for me.
Yeah.
He should be the character. Go ahead.
Yeah, my wife just read that latest issue with the Joker showing up at the end of it, and she puts it down and she goes, am I the only person who's tired of the Joker?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you are, dear.
But he should be the big bad guy. He should be the one that when he shows up, shit's going down. And I think they shouldn't have had him show up for at least 12 issues. That's ridiculous that I even have to put it that short of a length. There are plenty of other villains. They should have built up Mr. Bloom with this. I felt like there's a lot there that they could have done. They should have had him be the focus of this, and to have the Joker come and rain on his parade, him, them, their parade, I guess at this point, I think is wrong. They're not building Gordon up at all as this Batman. He's strictly new Coke until Coke Classic comes back at this point, in my opinion. They should have really... I get that they wanted Bruce back on some degree. That should have been merely a backup story. We should have had Gordon building up on all of that, and then get to the point where you find I'm rewriting it right now as we speak. Get to the point where the suits, you realize there's multiple suits, and then he has to fight the suits, and then he decides that he's just going to be Batman without the suit. We get rid of the bunny suit. Bruce eventually remembers. We know when he's going to remember, too. That's another thing. That's another thing where I was like, that's so ridiculous. That should have been a surprise in the comic, where he just has that one moment where he's like, oh, no, we knew in advance, didn't we? Like by months that he's going to remember.
Yeah.
I don't know everything, but
I don't want to read. I don't want to read your comic either. Nothing personal.
But that would have been different.
Yeah.
Than what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, here's one of the things, and I like parts of this whole Batman thing. I've liked Snyder's run on Batman since the New 52. As a whole, I've enjoyed it. You know, there's been aspects of it.
0 year.
Too long. You know, there's cool bits in that, and there's stuff that's just kind of to this day I still don't understand why some pages and panels exist in the comics. I do not. I mean, I can go through and pull the comics out and pull those pages out and go, I do not understand why this exists in the comics. It has to this day, no frame of reference of any sort that makes any sort of actual sense and whatnot. I'm hot and cold on the latest Batman predicament and whatnot. I mean, I'm intrigued by the idea of does Bruce Wayne know somewhere in his heart of hearts that he is Batman, and just does not. I mean, is it really the last temptation of Christ kind of thing? I talked a little bit with Luke a couple weeks ago about this. Is it really this kind of he really is trying to shut out that he is that because he wants to live this normal life? I mean, and if that's the case, really give me that story. Really, really commit to it and give me that story of him trying to use this as an excuse to get away from it. And I don't believe it because it's so much what Bruce Wayne is. It's so much. I mean, he's Batman first, not Bruce Wayne. And if he has suddenly been given this moment to not be Batman anymore, they need to sell it more. I think
they need to do that so much more.
Well, right. They need to completely drop. They should have never had the Batman bunny ear robot story ever. That shouldn't have existed, and they should have totally committed to that Bruce Wayne working himself back kind of a thing, if that's what they were going to do. Or we shouldn't have seen Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne should have stayed dead for all of us. Not the next issue. Did it even go 2 issues before we got a flash of him sitting on a park bench alive? We should have had a year of Gordon, them committing to Gordon and whatever this whole Batman robot thing was going to be, truly committed to it. That is the thing that bums me out. They tried telling 2 stories, and I think neither one of them are strong enough. Maybe that's the excuse to have a double ship, because then you could tell me 2 strong stories, Gordon, a robot story, and then Bruce Wayne story. I don't know. My other problem is I feel like Grant Morrison did this better with Batman R.I.P. That Batman basically kind of dying, him being out of his mind, him not knowing who he is, that whole fight back, the whole Batman compartmentalized, somehow he, running around in his crazy purple and green costume with Batmite chattering in his ear and him having the radio and fighting his way back. As bizarre as that was, you go back and read it, it's really cool. That worked really well, whereas this is just feels like they put too much water in my hot cocoa. I don't know. I want to be more. So I'm kind of one of those people that I'm not dropping Batman unless Batman really does start to double ship, then I'll drop it. But I'm not. My feelings aren't going to be hurt if new people come on and want to tell something different. I to this day think that Scott Snyder's best Batman work was in Detective Comics when he did Black Mirror. Because to me, he always says, I'm trying to do my best work because I know this may be my last Batman. It really, to me, feels like his first chance at Batman was in Detective Comics, and that's where he just went. He went for everything there. It worked really well. It was rich on a number of levels, and he loves the character. I get that, but that doesn't mean he should keep writing it. Maybe, I don't know.
And maybe, I'm not going to put all the blame on him. I kind of do at times. I think editorial probably says you can only do so much, and so that's the case too. But I just think he's made the Batman universe incredibly small for me. It feels like there's about 12 people in Gotham City right now for me. And they've had all these disastrous events take place that always erase themselves. 0 year, half the city's destroyed. This Endgame, a bunch of the city's destroyed, and we never see the consequences of that, ever. really play out. There's somehow still people that want to live there.
Yeah, you do in some sorts of sense, because you have people that are part of the fallout. You've got, like, the We Are Robins, that Duke character, his family's still gone from the whole thing. So there's some winks and nods at it, but it's not.
It's just not
which was crazy because the whole Batman Eternal, the first one, was supposed to expand and create this whole thing, and it didn't, did it? I don't know. Luke, what do you want to say? Because we're picking on it. I know you like it, so.
Yeah.
And I'm not asking you to defend it. I'm just.
I'd say what Snyder's work, it's great. I think it's great. It is what it is. But I think sometimes everything doesn't have to revolve around him so much. Like I don't think we need an event for every major story arc. Like that Endgame one, while I think like the Gotham Academy one was really good, it's just I don't think everyone has to bow to Scott Snyder, basically.
Yeah.
And I say that in I guess the best possible way I can say it. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with like Justice League, how they're doing now. You got the Bruce Wayne Batman, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's I guess that's the side effect of his success. I mean, everyone do what Scott Snyder's falling behind Scott Snyder, but I mean, do something a little different, but not everything lock in step with him.
Yeah.
Right.
I just go back to Justice League, so it's a perfect example of how it can work. That said, I enjoy his story. The whole thing about the Joker, I see two sides to it. I mean, you remember when the first New 52 happened, the Detective Comics issue #1, Joker rips his face. You didn't hear from the Joker for a year.
Yeah.
When he comes back in Batman 13, you're like, holy shit.
Exactly.
That was cool. I like the Joker, so I can get a Joker story. That's cool. And I kind of look at it too. Again, the whole thing with Joker being part of this. I think it's just an overarching with Snyder's run. New 52 wise, it's a big Joker story.
Well, to some degree, it's unfinished business, right? I mean, the Joker. Right. I mean, they both die. They both die down there in that hole, and I can see from Scott Snyder's perspective, it would be a shame for him not to be the one that brings it back. I'm still pissed that they lopped off Alfred's hand.
Yeah.
To me, that is just totally effed up.
And I'm hoping there's just something there's a reason why that happened. We just haven't really been privy to it. But I think it was just.
I think it's I think it's just a victim of they needed something to be shocking, and that was the thing to be shocking.
I mean, well, I go back to Death of the Family. What were I thought someone's face was going to get cut off and all of that, and really, the consequences of that or lack thereof were wrapped up. I guess you had the Joker come back in Endgame, and I guess that's a continued consequence of it, but there wasn't this. It was supposed to be that Batman was going to be on his own because all his, quote unquote, children are like, no, we don't want anything to do with you anymore. That didn't really play out. I think that Batman could use some refining, but I think DC really depends on Batman.
Do you think that maybe the whole thing with Damian dying right after that, maybe kind of derailed that? I don't want to say Grant Morrison kind of screwed everything up,
But to me, I just think that they depend too much on Batman, and that's why it's oversaturated. I would one thing I was going to throw out there: would anyone care if Detective Comics wasn't in continuity with Batman? I mean, it maybe takes place in the New 52 universe, but it's just Bruce Wayne, and you let that writer do their own thing, write their own Batman stories. Would anyone really care? I mean, everything?
I especially think you can get away.
I'd care because I would love it.
You would love it?
I would love it.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying I would care. I was like, really?
Yeah, but seriously, I think that's one title I think you can actually get away with it simply because it's Detective Comics.
I mean, it would have arcs. It wouldn't be like Legends of the Dark Knight. It would just be. I think that would help a lot more if they let those kind of writers do their own thing. They kind of had that at the beginning a little bit with now I'm One Face and stuff like that. Like
Dark
that didn't
Knight.
that didn't boil over, and Detective was kind of doing its own thing and had some interesting new villains like the Dollmaker and all that.
Yeah.
But
That's
it all
why Dark Knight was good. Cause it had like it did like once you got past that volume 1, it was just villain centric. It had a story arc strictly, and that's where it really I think found its niche. That's actually made it kind of interesting. And I said that could work. That could work in Detective. That very well could.
But I think in the Batman universe they need to build up other villains too. The reason why I'm so hard on the Joker on this is that he has crapped over other villains.
Man.
A lot of the villains we've gotten up to this point, like Arkham War and stuff like that, they've just been caricatures of themselves. And I think you need to have other villains come forth, maybe new ones. I'm not against that at all. But you need other villains that can come forth that are a challenge to Batman versus just they come in for one issue between Joker issues and kind of fill in. I think the Riddler was that to a degree.
Yeah.
But that was such a muddied water story that it didn't work. I think that should have been strictly the Riddler versus him early on in his career. But I think Travis even told me this, that editorial really came in and wrote him hard on that it needed to be.
He had to put the origin story in. He had no intentions of reworking that part of it, and he was kind of forced to. They told him that if he wasn't going to write the Batman origin, that they would have someone else write it. That someone else would write it during that time. Is what he said. I mean, that was at a con. I mean, it's literally not quoting him word for word, but basically what he said is that we were told we were doing the origin story because if we weren't doing it, someone else was doing it. So we worked it in as best we could.
So yeah, I do think editorial is a problem in this. They probably are saying like, we want more Joker sells, Harley Quinn sells, we need that. But I think you're missing out. I mean, Scarecrow came to mind first for some reason, but there's a lot of characters.
That was a good story. That was actually the best one in Dark Knight. But they had like Two-Face. That was a good story. Batman and Robin.
Two-Face is dead though.
Two-Face is dead.
Yeah, I'm saying, but just that story though, I thought it was a really good story.
Yes, I loved it.
But that's the thing. That's the nail on. I mean, that book got interrupted. Batman and Robin, I will put against anything Snyder did. And say it is far superior. And he had other books interrupting his stuff, and he still made it good. Yeah. That silent issue, that issue where he had Damian have superpowers, and it was still amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, so it can be done.
So here's my thing. I'm excited going forward for Batman because different artist on the book. Nothing against Capullo. Capullo's a fine Batman artist. I don't know that he's the greatest Batman artist. He's a fine Batman artist. He makes me very excited when I see him. I mean, I was like, about him being the artist because I knew he was a Spawn artist. About him being on Batman until I met the guy. The amount of energy he has, the hard work that he is generally putting in to make sure that book is as good as as he can make it, makes me super excited for him as far as that. But I'm excited and looking forward to a new artist getting on the book. I like the artist that's coming on.
Who is it?
Paquette. Paquette, they say his last name.
Oh, okay. He did Swamp Thing with him too, right?
Right. But I mean, he worked with Morrison on some of the original run of Batman Incorporated and some of that stuff. So it's not like he's unknown to Batman too. So I'm looking. I think he's a great artist. I'm looking forward to his however many he's doing. I can just get some other creative juices in there. I'm curious to see what's going to happen. I love Batman. I mean, I'm a big Batman fan.
Well, I was just saying, you kind of buried the lead there.
Right. But full disclosure, this is a bed sheet off of my son's bed, and because he was a big Batman fan as a kid, and it's like a burlap. It is so rough. He couldn't even sleep on it one night. And I'm like, well, I need something to kind of block off the rest of my basement. And it worked at the time. So,
what I will say about the Capullo thing, though, is, I mean, I'm kind of easing up to it now. I mean, you're right. I mean, gets new blood in every once in a while, giving it a different voice. The thing that's just so hard for me about it is that they're so good together. It's just their styles just complement the horror motifs between Snyder and Capullo. It's just good. It's just gonna feel awkward, I think, for a little bit once they.
Not to be the malcontent, but I think his work on Spawn is far superior, to be blatantly honest. But that's just me. I know I'm in the minority hardcore on that one, but I think, and if anyone's thinking I'm trashing Batman, I am a disappointed idealist when it comes to Batman on this, if anything. I just feel like he needs to build up more villains, make it so that other people are threats to him besides his supposed brother and the Joker.
And in defense, there was a time during Zero Year that me and CDC were like, this is gonna be the best thing ever. I mean, we were, yeah, that trench coat makes perfect sense. Yes, rock on. And then somewhere along the way, it feels like they pulled the rug out from underneath us. I don't know, you know.
But I will say this much: a lot of people dropped the comic.
Yes.
During that, a lot of people in this YouTube community dropped it, and we stuck through it. On top of that, we're veterans of the Forever Evil War, too.
Oh, God. Oh.
We're one of the...
So what we're saying is we have no taste. We have no taste and no common sense to drop stuff when it starts to turn to shit. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. But what angers me is I think that Batman somewhat gets a pass. Like, if another comic book was doing this where it's kind of telling the same story over and over again, I think a lot of people would be like, oh, this is awful. But Batman kind of gets the pass on that. And I think it's because all of us... Mm-hmm. We're fans from day one of Batman, and we let it slide. And so I might stick with it a little longer, but that when you saw the Joker at that end of that issue, and someone else figure out his identity on top of that, that was just a double whammy for me.
Yeah. Duke knowing who he was, I was just like, son of a bitch. Yeah.
Because that used to be a big deal. That's why a lot of people didn't like Tim Drake coming in. They didn't like him because they're like, how did this kid...
Because he's bullshit.
Yeah. How did this kid figure out something that the Riddler and all these other geniuses couldn't figure out? And now, if a kid, just some kid that was brand new in the issue figured it out, you wouldn't be that surprised. You're like, well, everyone else is figuring it out. But I remember when Tim Drake first came on the scene, people were like, this kid sucks. He's almost worse than Jason. Because everyone hated Jason at that point, too, by the way.
We all called in to get him killed, so yeah.
Yeah. But I remember, like, I didn't mind Tim at that point. I didn't mind his solo book either. I actually liked that, too. But it's changed with time. Tim is my least favorite. Jason's one of my favorites, so. But when that was the big thing, because people kind of liked Tim because he wasn't Jason, and then when he figured out his identity on his own by this high school student and all these villains, screw him, I hate him. But he kind of got the bump because he wasn't Jason. That was the big thing. It was anyone but Jason at that point.
Yeah. Ugh.
Genius.
But then again, when Damian came on the scene, everyone hated him. So.
Well, that was by design. I think that was.
Right. That ended up working out really well. You get him to when you first see him, he's a punk, and that's the first thing you think he's a punk, because he is, and he slowly works himself out of being that punk, and we all get to go along for the ride, and it worked well.
Oh, that Batman and Robin where you see him in the New 52. Mm-hmm. That made a lot of people that didn't like him because he grew as a character throughout that, and then you kill him. Really well done. I think if I ranked my Robins, I'd put Tim last. At this point, that's crazy.
I don't even count him.
Dick Grayson will always be my Robin.
I'm that denial. I'll be that person. But I know tons of people who absolutely love Tim Drake, that loved the Robin run that he did, that book that was around for quite some time. Loved it to pieces. So
that's where I became a fan of Stephanie as a character, is in that run. And so, I don't know. I just think I hold Batman to a higher standard than I do a lot of other comics, and that's why I'm so critical of it. I know some people get mad at me for being so critical of it, but I don't know that I am just as big a fan as you.
Yeah.
It's just, gets on my nerves.
Yeah. Awesome.
And We came
I'm
to
looking.
something here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to what's next, just because I know for a while it's going to be a change. So I'm curious to see what that is. It's not going to hurt my feelings if Snyder moves on to something else or whatever. I hope at some point DC Comics quits using his name. Don't put it on something he's not actually writing. You know, so he gave something that's blessing. That's in the Batman universe. I mean, they might as well just make him the Batman editor. I mean, if that's the case, you know, why are they paying Doyle to be editor if everything kind of has to go through Snyder?
How much of Talon did he actually do?
I don't know.
Do you think he
Well,
just
that's just it. That's just it. We don't know how much of any of that stuff he did. How much of it's him, or him and whoever the writer, Tinian the Fourth. They have a phone conversation or a couple emails back and forth, and Snyder gets his name put on it. And I know why Snyder's name on it. Snyder's name's on it because it sells.
Yeah.
You know, we pick it up because Snyder's on it, so we have a certain expectation, and then it's not necessarily that. I don't know. To me, I wish they would quit doing that. I mean, it feels to me like you're.
Well, I don't think he. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's like putting Frank Miller's name on something that he's not doing. Right?
Oh yeah. I hear that's pretty good. I haven't been reading it though. I hear people are liking that too.
I can't get past the title of it, so.
Well, from what I hear, it's people from Kandor actually, right?
I have no idea.
I didn't get a chance to read the second issue.
I haven't heard anything about it, so I don't know.
People have told me that he unshrinks the shrunken city, and they're all Superman essentially. So they're the Master Race. That's why I got that. But that has a different connotation with me and my family's history, so I didn't want to touch
that. Well, right.
But yeah, I don't know. I think. How long do you think Gordon's going to last? How long do you think before Bruce is back in the suit?
Separate. I think it's out there.
Oh yeah.
It's on the solicit. Can't.
It is.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Saw it. I was like, son of a bitch.
Yep.
If you don't even know, I'm not gonna say. I just know.
Yeah. So they have him already back in the suit in a future solicit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
No.
Well, you don't see it. They say it.
Yeah. You don't see it, but they say he's back as Batman. Yeah.
What's the point? Like you know what's going
on. There's nothing that tells you have to read the solicits. The solicits are for the retailer, so the retailer knows the book, so the retailer knows whether or not to get the book or not, and to try and sell it to their customer, right, without having to read it themselves. So we in this internet age have just learned to read the solicits ourselves also, which is awful. Yeah. I personally don't read the solicits of any book that I know I'm generally getting anyway. I do not read the solicits for probably 75% of the comics that I pull. I do not read the solicits for because I know I'm getting it. I'm enjoying it enough right now. I know I'm getting it. The stuff that starts to suck or I'm questioning on, that's the stuff I'll start to look at the solicits on to go, well, what's coming forward because I'm not liking what's happening now. Does it look like it's going to change any? And if it's not, then I drop it.
I guess the mystery of what's going to happen to Gordon is still there. Oh, actually, the solicit, they say.
That's
he becomes commissioner
I always wondered. It's like, what do you do with him now? I mean,
he goes back to being. He's going to go back to being commissioner.
Chubby and smoking, and he still smokes now.
You don't think they'll still have him ripped, just to shreds?
Roy Drake.
That would be awesome. Him, clothes hangering and just beating the hell out of people when he's out there just being a regular gumshoe again. That'd be great.
But he's always kind of been a badass. He's always kind of been someone you didn't want to mess with.
Right.
I don't know.
We're not going to. You ask what he's going to be. He's going to go back to being what he was. You're hardly going to see him, and he'll just be kind of something for Batman to bounce something off of occasionally.
Yeah. There'll be the "Can we trust him, Commissioner?" The famous line every single time he talks. But I don't know. I would almost want a Commissioner Gordon comic since we didn't really get it here, where he's just a cop. I would read that in a heartbeat. I mean, it depends on who's writing it, but I would read that. I think I've said this numerous times. I'm a broken record at this point. I would read his Chicago tales when he was a cop there. I think that would be an interesting series.
Yeah.
But huge Commissioner Gordon fan. I think that's also why I'm kind of burying this as much as I am, is because I thought they had an opportunity to make a Commissioner Gordon an interesting character, and they've kind of put him in the background in his own comic.
Yeah, well, and what's happening with Detective? We're all excited. Tomasi's going to come and write Detective, and it's just kind of been
limbo.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
in his defense,
it's dysfunctional because of the stuff that's going on in the other books, right?
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
But yeah, because when he was on Batman and Robin, he was doing his own thing.
So you only had, what, 2 issues before that Robin War issue came, and then he didn't write that one.
He had
Fox
nothing to do
wrote
with that
one.
I hated that because that had McDaniels on art, and I really do not like McDaniels as an artist. I do not. So, yeah.
Have we even been asked any questions up to this point?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking over because, of course, I've been neglecting as a whole everybody that's been commenting in the comments, and I apologize for that. Let's see here. I just noticing. I'm just gonna kind of cherry pick here because I'm lazy that way. Brandon says, I want to echo what Reader 1770 views and hopes that Valentine takes over as Wonder Woman. The person who's been writing the Catwoman, who just got off that Catwoman run, have her go write Wonder Woman.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Christina says that she would love to see Karina Bekcho, I think is how you say her last name, Bekcho, wrote Wonder Woman. That she'd be great for the title. Currently, she is co-writing along with Gabriel Hernandez. Gabriel Hernandez? No, that's not right. Gabriel Hardman on.
Could you seriously imagine though Valentine on Wonder Woman? That would be wow.
It would be interesting. It would have a completely different tone to it, I would guess. Mm-hmm. But Karina also writes Invisible Republic. Okay. Is what she's on, that independent book. I can't think of what else she's written right. I think she's writing like Vampirella and Aliens. I think she's writing right for Dark Horse, or not Dark Horse. Who is that? Is it Dark Horse?
It's 2 companies.
Or is it Dynamite? It's Dynamite and Dark Horse, right?
Yeah.
Good. Going back to Valentine real quick, because I don't know. I know she's a writer, like a novelist.
Right.
What type of books does she write, or did she write, or does she?
I don't know.
You know what her genre was?
I think it's cool that DC's been doing that slightly, though, lately. Like, Dial H was written by China Miéville.
Right. I think that she writes young adult fiction, I want to say. Mm-hmm. But I could be wrong. Maybe that might be somebody else that does that. No, she writes fantasy realism, is what she writes. Urban fantasy.
Oh, okay.
She writes urban fantasy, is what she normally writes. So this seemed like this was kind of not bad, though. I mean...
No.
The Catwoman thing. Let's see here. People are talking about who their favorite Batman artist is. First Batman artist you think of when you hear of Batman. Who comes to mind?
First one?
Yeah.
That's.
I mean, is it Capullo?
No, I hate
Adams. Neil Adams.
I was going to say Jacques, but.
Yeah, really cool. For me, it's Jim Aparo. As soon as you say Batman. As soon as you say Batman, the first image that comes to mind is the Jim Aparo Batman of all the Brave and the Bold, the Batman and the Outsiders. That's when I first really started reading Batman. Was when that stuff was going on. That's the Batman that comes to mind. The Batman with the the yellow circle around the bat. That's my era of Batman. That's the first thing that always comes to mind when I think of Batman. So people have been talking about that. Let's see here.
Who would you say is the worst?
The worst?
Yes.
I don't know.
We'll say in a consistent, not doing just a one, because that'd be Ian Bertram.
I don't know because I don't remember. And the stuff that's bad, I just kind of put it out. Yeah, I just got to say that I don't like McDaniels. I don't like him as an artist. Blah, blah, blah. He just did that last issue Detective. He's done Detective in the past and whatnot, but he actually was on a story, I'm pretty sure it was in Detective Comics, and I think David Hine wrote it, and I really liked that. That story was really good, and his art worked for this story. Can't remember what it was called, though, what the story was called. So, really, anybody who's managed to successfully have a career in comics, with very few exceptions, I can usually find something that they do okay work in, if nothing else. I've never seen Liefeld do Batman, so
Oh boy.
that might have been my first pick. But
just Batman, just the size of a Mack truck. Just well, he's already kind of been there.
With a pinhead and and all those extra. Not just his bat belt. Like, how many hundreds of pounds can he put on the bat belt?
12 belt, and then legs that are just tent poles.
Yeah.
Kelly Jones and the really long 14-foot Batman ears, which I like. Kelly Jones, just the ears was just too much.
Did you read Europa yet? This last issue of Europa?
No, I didn't pick it up yet.
The art's really interesting, and I'll talk to you on Twitter about it.
Okay.
So, Kaylee S. was saying that 2015 was a year that I got into comics, and I feel like that I've only just scratched the surface. It can be overwhelming at times, but mostly it's exciting, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and there's just a ton of stuff out there. New stuff, and then there's all the old stuff that, of course, all of us that have read all that stuff are always going, oh, read this, oh, read that. So, yeah, where do you start? And okay, probably 4 years ago, I pretty much was getting everything that I wanted. Now I can't possibly. Yeah. There's so much stuff out. I'm missing the paybacks because when I was ordering my comics, I'm like, I'm not 100% sure, and I can't just take everything. So, I lose out.
Team books, we know how well those have been doing independently.
Oh, right. Well, yeah. So. Yeah, quite a few books got canceled this. I don't know if it was quite a few, but some that I definitely like got canceled. Secret Identities canceled this in 2015. Yeah. Bummer. Anybody here reading or read Gotham by Midnight? Luke, did you finish reading it?
Gotta pick it up tomorrow.
Dude.
It's the end, essentially. So I mean. I'm on the fence whether it was a good wrap up or not, but
really,
I don't know.
I loved that it got to end and then it ended.
That's true. It could have not had an ending at all.
They could have just, oh, we're done. They went home and never ended the story. I liked it. I liked how big and dramatic and maybe there are parts of it that don't make sense, but I think for. You know what I mean? For what it was, and to shut it down because it was such a big monster they had going, it worked for me.
I just want more is the problem I think I have with
there's definitely that. I mean,
it was such an improvement from, like, I don't want to say the art was good, it was two different artists, but I thought Fox really kind of grew into that.
Yeah.
Dare say almost like hitting a good stride just as it was ending.
Okay, so I was right. Valentine does do writes urban fantasy novels. So
well, the biggest cancellation that bothered me was Wonder Woman. I mean, I can't believe they stopped making that comic. It's just terrible. It doesn't exist, right? They just stopped making it. And
I don't know. I think Luke's still reading it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Or rather, I think Luke started reading it, right? Because you didn't read the.
No, I started right
when
after
Finch took on,
Convergence. Right? With Convergence.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Are you reading Titan's Hunt?
No.
Okay.
No. I've been kind of in that.
It is so slow.
Is it?
They are taking their sweet time.
Is it 6 issues too?
I think so, and it doesn't seem like it's getting to the point anytime soon. I'm enjoying it for what it is, but I'm thinking, you're getting all these characters together that I wanted to see together again, and you're not doing much with it. It's just Donna Troy and Garth fighting on a beach for the most part in this issue, which is fine. I'll read that, but I want a plot of some kind too. That would be nice.
The Titans have been it's so bad.
It's 3 issues in, and they haven't had the whole team together yet.
Really, really disappointing for me. The Titans are. Coming from, of course, I got to read it in its golden, its golden age with with Perez and Wolfman on it, and I don't know.
Well, here's one. I know it's technically going to be 16, but Fade Out. I'm kind of bummed that it's going to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's what, this next month it ends, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes and no. I mean, I have two minds to that. I mean, I'm excited to see what the ending is, to see how it all, how it all plays out and stuff. I know that the creators are already getting ready to go on to their next, whatever their next thing is, which I know I'll pick up. So yeah, I'm okay with it being a contained story, not that they just told stories and they started to fizzle and decided they needed to quit because they were. I mean, this was a planned kind of a thing, so I don't mind stories like that. I guess that even if it's a longer told story, a year,
Yeah.
that it's a planned, done event kind of a thing, not.
I dropped that and I regret it.
Yeah. J Rock is asking how many issues is the Fade Out. It's gonna be 12. 12 issues is what it'll be. So, and I'm curious to see how it ends. I mean, with the way the last issue ended, what the next issue is going to be. I mean, do you feel like we're any closer to
I think it could be anybody.
Right. That's kind of. I mean, I'm sure there.
And I'm saying that, and I mean that in a good way.
That's
Right.
that's a good mystery, actually.
Right. And I know there are clues along the way, and I just don't know. I'm looking forward to finding out who or it is at the end, so that I can go back and read it again and see did I really just miss them, or were they so subtle that I
You're making it sound really good.
It's the good thing about that. It was just like it really was just my cup of tea, history and the war. But it was just its own of all the stuff I was reading. That was like the unique taste. Just that's how I got it. I mean, that murder mystery type of things. Yeah.
Right.
So is there, I made a joke video, but is there any comic books you're looking forward to this year?
New stuff.
Yeah. I haven't seen much, I think. I'm kind of behind that way. Obviously, I haven't been reading solicitations, so...
I know that Swamp Thing that comes out next week. I'm excited for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm nervously excited for it. It of course has Lin Wein back writing it. He's the original creator. Sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes it's bad if they haven't advanced their storytelling techniques. Those were great stories then. They created great characters and whatnot. But I will argue to death with anybody that there are some amazing aspects about the Silver Age of comics and how they told stories then, but there are also large aspects of the storytelling craft that has gotten so much better and so much smarter now in comparison to then, that if they haven't advanced their skills, we're going to get a disappointing comic is what will end up happening. We'll get something that's just doesn't have a lot of get up and go, I think. So I'm worried about that. In the DC stuff, I'm looking forward to there's a mini series with Deadshot and
Katana,
and the story, they aren't together. They're two separate stories, but being told in the same comic. Part of the comic is Deadshot, part of the comic is Katana. I'm looking forward to that. I like those characters. I'm looking forward to seeing. Are they going to do something interesting with those characters?
Poison Ivy.
Poison Ivy's coming right up. I'm looking forward to that too. I kind of like the eco-terrorist Poison Ivy, the new 52 Poison Ivy. I don't mind her. I liked her when she first started out in the new 52, and they kind of they threw her under the bus in a pretty crappy way. But
that beginning of that Birds of Prey run, I didn't mind that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any indie books that are coming up that I'm really.
Well, 2015. I really enjoyed Squarriors, the Squirrel Warriors.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds so stupid, but it was a great, amazing book, yeah. And even the human storyline with it seems at first so weird and disjointed, but then it works in perfect because it's going to lead to what happened to these animals. So I'm looking forward to that this year.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what indie books I'm looking forward to.
I know we just kind of taught them. I'm excited to see what they do with Witches when they start that back up.
Yeah.
When does that start back up?
I thought I heard them say February, but I guess no.
Really? I don't know.
That was.
Christina's saying that she's looking forward to more Stray Bullets. I always am. That's just a a great, awful comic book.
Here's one. I'm just now jumping on Southern Bastards. I'm kind of excited to see how that
you're
goes.
gonna like that. It's good.
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd like it, and then it really kind of grew on me.
Wow. Yeah.
I think that's his best stuff, and I'm putting that even above Weird World, to be honest, like writing-wise at least.
I'm really curious with that to see, the daughter coming back. We're finally gonna get some issues of her actually coming home. That's gonna be interesting to see what that's gonna be like. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what other new books are.
There was one, I didn't catch the title and who was the writer, but I saw Jay Lee gonna be doing some indie work.
Really?
Yeah. It was on one of the preview books. It was on the cover.
Wow.
Yeah, his art's a little so-so for some.
I like Jay Lee.
I like it, yeah.
I don't know that I could think of anything new that's coming out. Marvel I'm okay with. They got enough new stuff that I'm reading. I don't need any new stuff from them anytime soon.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't.
Is everyone here reading Vision? You should be. So good.
I've got the issues ordered so I can get caught up.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's creepy too. I mean, Yeah, Marvel I'm fine with, but I'm sure they'll announce something else I'm interested in.
Speaking of creepy books, did anybody here finish reading Nameless? Grant Morrison.
Oh yeah. Holy shit.
And then I went back and read the whole thing all together because I'm like, oh, okay, this is.
Yeah, I got to do that.
You should.
Yeah.
It's amazing reading it all together. I don't know what I think of the ending. It left it open. I don't know if that was on purpose so they could do something else, but what a total mind F.
And it starts out so subtle is the best thing, because I remember you and I talking about it, like, oh, I don't know if this is going anywhere. I thought this would be a Morrison comic. What the hell is going on here?
It's so half-baked by the time you're to the end of it. It's just like, wow. Yeah.
I had an agaped mouth towards the end of that. I was just like, holy. Because it starts out really slow. It's this slow burn, and then all of a sudden, crazier.
Yeah.
It just kept getting...
As the panel backdrops are the melting faces of clowns. You're like going, oh, he's totally gone off the rails. Yes. Just, yeah.
I'm bummed that there's not going to be more of that, but who knows? Maybe there will be down the road.
Yeah, just totally nuts. Thank you, Ryan C. He says that Cry Havoc looks like it's going to be. Well, I guess Brandon did too. As far as one of the indie comics that's coming out, Cry Havoc. I'm excited for that book because it's got Ryan doing art, Ryan Kelly doing art. I'm always a big fan of his. Right. He's doing all the art in it, which I don't know how. I'm trying to figure out how he's doing that and doing what's the Vertigo book?
I don't know.
Survivors Club. He does the art in Survivors Club.
Oh, he does.
So how is he doing double duty? I don't know. But he's going to be doing Cry Havoc. He's doing the art, and it's told in 3 different timelines. And each timeline has its own colorist. So there are 3 colorists doing the book. Lou Ridge, and I can't remember Wilson, and I can't remember who the other person is. So you'll be able to distinctly tell. And they're doing that because they clearly are recognizing the colorist has such an impact on the comic that's why they're using the colorist to color each of them. And it's not just like, oh, well, the past is going to be colored blue. I mean, each of these colorists have their own palette they're working with, and so it's going to give it a definite feel through it. I mean, come on, how could it be? What could be wrong? It's basically about lesbian werewolves, fighting the Afghan war. So, sounds awesome to me. So, right?
See, that's legit indie, though. That is a science fiction comic that's legit indie.
So I just that sounds like it's going to be awesome. So, I'm excited for that. So.
Vertigo has been knocking it out lately, man. I'm just surprised because they kind of go dormant for a while, and then they just come out with all these cool books, and then kind of go dormant for a while, and then.
Is anybody reading Jacked?
I have it. I haven't read it yet.
Oh man, I love it. Now maybe it's because I horribly identify with the kind of has-been old guy. He's got his family, and his life's just kind of a wreck. He's kind of not that I'm that, but I mean it's just that whole kind of. And he's looking for answers, and it's like his brother-in-law goes, "Hey, take these these pills. They'll give you some pep. They give you brain power. Blah blah blah." He takes them, and it ends up kind of giving him superpowers, and he's just kind of, and he's totally messed up. I mean, but it's just funny. It's like I don't know. It's just all kinds of aspects. I don't think it's a comic book for everybody. I don't know. I'd love to find out if there's any girls that are reading it because I don't know how much they would like it. But
is Ryan C in the comments?
Yeah.
Hey, what does he think of Providence now? Because I'm still reading it, and I like it. I think it's gotten better. I'll wait for him to comment, but go ahead. Keep going.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, there's just things like I don't know. I don't want to get into it. Some of the stuff about it I like. It's just there's little things about it that just crack me up. So it's been fun.
Speaking of Vertigo, I picked up a Clean Room.
Oh,
What the heck
I'm digging that.
Yeah, weird.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of on the fence with it until about issue 3. Issue 3, the latest issue that came out, it really, to me, I really enjoyed it. I mean, there's still tons of stuff I don't know, and it feels like there's some definite Galeism showing up in there that's just her being her. But I'm enjoying it.
I almost feel like Secret Six is for a certain kind of Gale fan, and Clean Room is for another kind of Gale fan. You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure.
Like Batgirl, I'm more of a Batgirl Gale fan and a Clean Room Gale fan, and then she has that over there. So I'm not as mad at Secret Six anymore because of Clean Room. Like they have theirs and I have mine. Because people are loving Secret Six, by the way. Like if you're following Gale on Twitter,
I know. I don't get it.
I
don't get it beyond just being a Gale fan, and you're gonna just love what Gale does because it's Gale. I don't get it. And I was that fan for a while. I'll freely admit I was that fan. Gale could do no wrong.
Clearly didn't read the Atom.
No, I hadn't. I was busy being high on Secret Six and enjoying her Wonder Woman, and so I didn't. And Welcome to Tranquility, and I was digging that stuff, and so I was like, well, this is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not that fan. I'm not that fan anymore. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, not that fan. So.
I can't think of any other indie titles that I'm really looking forward to.
Well, I'm looking forward to all the ones I'm reading now. Continuing. There's a lot of those I'm just enjoying. That. I'm looking forward to the next year of. But lots of them are taking massive breaks. I mean, they're talking. So Ryan C says that shit. I think Providence is the book of the decade.
Really? I think it's okay. I don't know.
I agree with A.L. Superdyke that Gail Simone's Birds of Prey was awesome.
Yeah.
And really, that's where I first started reading Gail. At was in Birds of Prey, and. Or was it? No, maybe it was Secret Six, and then I went and got Birds of Prey because I'd read Secret Six.
Well, I would recommend anyone that's on the fence or says they don't like her. I say go read that Secret Six run because that is just it's really good. Like it's not just good for whatever. It's just a solid comic.
Right.
Travis, her Birds of Prey was that pre-52?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yes. Yes.
Don't read the.
Well, no, I got them, and I thought they were fine. I mean, they were okay, but...
But see, I think if you go back and read that run, then you'll see why our discontent is what it is. It's just... Yeah. It's so good that...
The characterization and the interaction between the ladies that are in that book is just great. It's just really, really good on that aspect. And then they fight some fun... characters, and there's some great one-liners through the thing. She creates some great characters. That's where Black Alice shows up at. That's where Misfit, which of course the character that doesn't get used at all, basically, showed up there. Those characters all work really well. And actually, Tony Bedard takes over after she leaves the book, and he does a solid job of holding it together. When I think editorial had already decided that they were closing it down, getting ready for the New 52 and whatnot. He has some fun story arcs in there too, actually.
And rarely Bane is actually written really well for once. In
Secret Six, yes.
Which has not been done since '90s. So
yeah.
It's definitely worth the read if you're a fan. Yeah, that's weird that Providence. I think it's. I grew on me.
So Ryan says, but I should state that I'm a huge Lovecraft fan, and if a person isn't big into Lovecraft, then Providence could fall a little flat for them. So when you say
huge.
So
Lovecraft
when you say Lovecraft, I'm just curious. Now that we're on this, are you saying that it's like Lovecraft, and that for me, I love Lovecraft's ideas and stuff, but he is not a writer for everybody because he's extremely dry, right?
He's extremely dry. Can't write a dialogue to save his life.
Right. But the idea and the creep value are awesome. So
yeah.
So are you saying that Alan Moore can't write dialogue and it's really dry and it's just really creepy, or what?
I'm not saying that's not the case.
Well, I'm just curious as to what aspect of Lovecraft are we talking that it
No, it actually takes place in a period where a Lovecraft story would take place, as opposed to a lot of other comics that do that but have it take place now or in the future and all that. It actually takes place during the times.
In the 20s and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, like a little earlier than that even. It's definitely written as a love letter to Lovecraft. That was an interesting sentence, but yeah, I don't know. I just need a little more out of it before I'd be like, it's amazing. It's good. I thought it was kind of dry at first, and then it grew on me with the issues. So okay. I just remember him really liking it from the get-go. So I don't know anyone else that's reading it. That's why I had to ask.
Yeah, okay.
I literally don't know another person, even at my shop or anywhere. So I think that's it for me.
Yeah. I think for me too. Anything else we want to talk about? No? I think we're done for tonight then. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you guys for showing up and talking a little bit of comic books and just talking in general. I don't know. We covered everything. As soon as I turn this off, I'll think of 1,000 things that we should have talked about. Because that's how it works when we're live without a script. But anyway, I believe we'll be back to kind of business as usual next week, as best to our ability. And I don't even know what's coming out next week for comics.
I guess I can look.
Anybody have a general sense as to what's coming out? I haven't looked either. It's been the holidays, so I've kind of.
Let's see. So, Batman and Robin Eternal's coming out for sure. Let's see. Green Arrow, Midnighter, Swamp Thing #1, Survivors Club, Unfollow 3. Let's see what's coming out here. Paper Girls 4.
That's of course that Swamp Thing comes out, right?
Yeah, Bitch Planet, Black Science.
Wow, how long has it been since Bitch Planet's been out again? Boy, that needs to get on some sort of a regular schedule.
Months. Southern Cross trade paperbacks coming out, so if you missed out on that, you can catch up.
Sweet.
Shudder? Oh, Shudder trade paperback. Nailbiter, if anyone's still reading that. I doubt it.
More Stray Bullets.
Yes. A-Force #1.
That's finally coming out, huh? Why did I think that came out months ago?
No. Doctor Strange 4.
Nice.
Obi-Wan and Anakin, for those of you who are liking that. Spider-Gwen 4. Spidey 2. Uncanny X-Men #1 finally. Vision 3. Weird World 2. Wow, a shitload of stuff's coming out actually, so...
Weird World 2. So Weird World 2, Weird World is another one of those ones that double shipped in the month, basically, didn't it? Well, I guess it didn't.
No.
Wow, it seems like we just got that, though, didn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the fact that the December went by so fast for me. I don't know. Yeah, this week is the last issue of Fade Out, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Should be interesting. Looking forward to getting to talk about that. So hopefully we all get that book. Hopefully, Luke, your comic book store is on.
No, I know.
Is it going to be the time?
I'll snap. I'll snap. I'm like, come on, man.
Oh, yeah. So, at any rate, that's it. Thank you all for coming, talking. Thank you all the people in the comment who commented. Thank you all the people who watched this at a much later date. We'll be back next week to talk some more comics and whatever else comes up. Anyway, have a great night, everybody, and talk to you soon.